Chapter 730. He couldn't let Dongli succeed. He couldn't let him get Queen Hai Xan. Yang Dingtian had to make the first move and cut off all of Dongli's escape routes. It wouldn't take too long to deal with Queen Hai Xan. If necessary, it wouldn't take more than a few days to deal with the 4 commanders and 16 generals of the Naga tribe. That's right, Yang Dingtian really had such a plan. There was a saying, "I'm not a casual person. I'm not a person when I'm casual." There were 4 commanders and 16 generals of the Naga Empire. Although there were less than 10 great masters and 1 half-saint now, their potential was too great. It could be said that these 20 to 30 high-level Naga tribe members could all break through to the half-saint level in the future. So for this trip, it wasn't enough to deal with Queen Hai Xan alone. If he wanted to conquer, he had to conquer all the high-level Naga tribe members. Again, he was not a person when he was casual. In short, not a single high-level Naga tribe member could be left for Dongli. Although after Hai Xan got pregnant, the first person she would kill would probably be Yang Dingtian. The situation was urgent, and there was no other way. There were still 7 days before the deadline given by Yao Li. Even if Yang Dingtian conquered all the high-level Naga tribe members, he would only have 3 or 4 days at most. It was enough for him to return to Cloud Sky City. Cloud Sky City was almost 20,000 miles away from the Naga Empire. With the speed of Demon Vulture King Aja, it would only take 10 hours. Aja flew thousands of meters in the air and whizzed past. On the sea between the northwest continent and the Dongli grassland, there were ships passing by occasionally. Moreover, they were medium to large ships. In the past, there was almost no contact between the human countries and the Dongli grassland. But now there were so many ships heading to the Naga Empire. Yang Dingtian knew who these people were. They were all defeated leaders of Zhongzhou State, who were unwilling to accept the rule of the Yang Dingtian Council of Light. So they went into exile in the Snake Men Empire. It was easy for Yang Dingtian's fleet to stop them, but Yang Dingtian just wanted to test whether anyone dared to shelter these Zhongzhou State leaders. At that time, most of the Central Continent's leaders were exiled from Sky Demon City, and very few of them went to the Snake Men Empire. However, Sky Demon City did not dare to offend Yang Dingtian at this time. Not only did they refuse the Central Continent leaders' request for refuge, they even sent people to escort these exiled leaders back to the Council of Light's sphere of influence. Left with no choice, these Central Continent leaders could only flee to the Snake Men Empire. Yang Dingtian wanted to see if the Snake People Empire would take in these Central Continent leaders. In the end, Queen Hai Xan really took them in. Thus, the leaders of Central Continent continuously went to the Snake Men Empire. Queen Hai Xan's heart was strange and unpredictable. It was really hard to understand. 8 hours later, Yang Dingtian flew to the sky above the Dongli grassland. At this time, it had been a full year and a half since Yang Dingtian left the Dongli grassland. And in this year and a half, the Dongli grassland had completely changed. When he first entered the Dongli grassland, Yang Dingtian felt everything very clearly. The most magnificent and most powerful defense line in history stood in front of him. The huge city wall was dozens of meters high, like a giant dragon, and he could not see the end of it. Yang Dingtian knew how long this city wall was. It surrounded the entire Dongli grassland. Every few miles was an incomparably sturdy castle, and the sea outside the city wall was densely packed with all kinds of warships. These were the fleets of the Snake Men Empire. Every place on the city wall was a fully armed half-human race army. In the air, the dense patrolling winged cavalry crisscrossed. The half-human race army, especially the several major combat tribes, was far more powerful than the human army. The entire Snake Men Empire had hundreds of millions of troops. Therefore, in terms of military power, the Snake Men Empire was far more powerful than the Council of Light. Of course, the Council of Light's armed forces were far more powerful than the Snake Men Empire. In order not to cause unnecessary trouble, Yang Dingtian directly let the Demon Vulture King Azu fly to an altitude of 20,000 meters and directly whistled in the night. Therefore, the extremely strict air patrol of the Snake Men Empire did not find any trace of Yang Dingtian at all. After an hour and a half, Yang Dingtian came to the sky above the capital of the Snakemen Empire. The capital of the Snakemen Empire was completely different from when Yang Dingtian left. This was a city almost larger than Zhongjing. Incomparably magnificent buildings stood in every corner of the capital. The architectural style here was completely different from that of the human countries. All of them were made of stone and filled with the mysterious aura of an underwater empire. In the center of the capital, there was an incomparably huge pyramid. The pyramid was thousands of meters high, like a huge mountain, standing in the center of the Snakemen Empire. This pyramid did not exist a year and a half ago. Yang Dingtian could not imagine how such an amazing pyramid could be built in just a year and a half. The tallest pyramid of the Egyptians was only 100 meters high, and it took an unknown number of years. The pyramid of the Snakemen Empire was thousands of meters high, and it only took a year and a half. Of course, the national strength of the Snakemen Empire was not just 100 times, 1,000 times, or 10,000 times more than ancient Egypt. At the top of the pyramid was an incomparably beautiful statue. This was Queen Hai-Xian, half human and half snake, coiled at the top of the pyramid. This statue was lifelike, beautiful, and enchanting to the extreme. She was high on the pyramid, overlooking all living beings. Almost as soon as he entered the range of the pyramid, Yang Dingtian was discovered, even at an altitude of 20,000 meters. Whoosh 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 whoosh. For beautiful women with snake tails and human faces, like meteors, rushed up to 20,000 meters in the air. Then, they used their powerful Xian Qi to instantly lock onto Yang Dingtian. Of course, at this time, they could no longer lock onto Yang Dingtian. It was just that he did not resist. These 4 female snakemen generals were very unfamiliar. But they were all great grandmasters. Who is it? How dare you trespass into the Imperial Golden Palace? The leader of the snakemen generals said coldly. The leader of the Tiando League in the human countries, Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian said, "Of course, I also have another identity, which is the husband of your Princess Huangyu." Princess Huangyu? The leader of the snakemen generals said disdainfully. Even if you are the husband of Princess Huangyu, trespassing into the Imperial Golden Palace is a crime punishable by death. We will send your head back to the human countries. Her words showed that she did not put the Tiando League and the Council of Light in her eyes at all. Yang Dingtian's eyes narrowed, and he said, "It's better if you go and report. Don't forget, I once fought side by side with your Queen Hai-Xian. I contributed the most to your queen's ascension." Attack. The 4 female snakemen generals suddenly stabbed their swords. Boom. The energy in Yang Dingtian's body, mixed with the Xian flame, burned fiercely. Then, this energy and flame rushed toward the 4 female snakemen generals. What was Yang Dingtian trying to do? Of course, he wanted to make the female snakemen generals transform. Although the 4 of them together were not his match, it would save him a lot of trouble if they did not have to fight. Moreover, conquering the snakemen race would start with these 4 female snakemen generals. However, what puzzled Yang Dingtian was that the 4 female snakemen generals did not have any reaction to Yang Dingtian's flame. Not to mention that they did not transform into human form. They did not become aroused. Even their hostility did not decrease at all. This should not be. What was going on? Why did the 4 female snakemen generals not transform into human form? Moreover, Yang Dingtian had seen the 4 great commanders and the 16 great generals. You dare to attack? You are courting death. The female snakemen general's beautiful face flicked out her tongue, and her expression became ferocious. Then, she suddenly turned into a stream of light and stabbed her sharp sword toward Yang Dingtian. It seemed that he had no choice but to fight. Yang Dingtian did not unsheath his sword. He smashed it against the female snakeman general's sword and shook it. Instantly, the female snakeman general's sword turned red, and then turned into bloody black gold liquid and dripped down. The female snakemen generals were shocked. She did not expect to meet such an expert like Yang Dingtian. Hiss! Then her snake tongue flicked out, emitting a special sound wave that humans could not hear. Whoosh 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 whoosh. In an instant, more than a dozen snakemen experts shot into the air like meteors. Among them, 4 or 5 were martial grandmasters, and the remaining half were advanced martial grandmasters. However, there was still not a single familiar face among them. What was going on? How was this possible? How did so many experts appear in the Snakemen tribe? It had only been a year and a half. Even if it was accelerated, there was no way to produce so many martial grandmasters at once. What exactly did Queen Hyexan do to these Snakemen tribe? At this moment, Yang Dingtian was surrounded by 8 or 9 martial grandmasters. The leader of the group was wearing a purple mask and had reached the level of a 9-star martial grandmaster. However, from his eyes, Yang Dingtian seemed to have seen him before. He should have been one of the Snakemen tribe's higher-ups, if not one of the 4 great commanders, then one of the 16 great generals. Although he was powerful now and was already a 6-star martial grandmaster, it was still impossible for him to defeat 8 or 9 martial grandmasters. "Are you Yang Dingtian?" the leader of the 9-star martial grandmasters asked. "Are you Viper Z?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Have you searched my body before?" Yang Dingtian remembered that when Yang Dingtian went to see Queen Poisa, Viper Z was the one who searched his body. At that time, she was considered Queen Poisa's personal guard, one of the 16 great generals. However, at that time, she had not broken through to the martial grandmaster level, but was just about to break through. Now she was a 9-star martial grandmaster. How did she do it? And most importantly, she had once fallen in love with Yang Dingtian. Once the Snakemen fell in love, they would never be able to erase it. At this moment, she looked at Yang Dingtian with a very cold and emotionless gaze. "Why did you see the queen?" Viper Z asked. "Important," Yang Dingtian said. Viper Z looked at him deeply and said, "Wait a moment, I'll go and report." Whoosh! Then, she instantly turned into a stream of light and shot into the pyramid. After a short while, Viper Z returned. "The queen is waiting for you. Please follow me." After that, she turned into a stream of light and flew toward the pyramid's main hall. Yang Dingtian immediately followed. Then, he prayed in his heart, hoping that it was not too late. He hoped that Dongli had not succeeded. He hoped that Dongli had not obtained Queen Hyexan at the top of the pyramid. In the most dazzling palace, Yang Dingtian saw the peerless beauty, the devastatingly beautiful Queen Hyexan. She seemed to be even more beautiful than the last time Yang Dingtian saw her. She was the kind of beauty that would make you feel ashamed at first glance. She was the kind of beauty that could almost blind you. In terms of pure beauty and special temperament, she had already caught up with Queen Poisa, and her cultivation was much stronger than a year and a half ago. At least, Yang Dingtian could feel an unfathomable aura. Even in front of Wu Yu and Wolingzi, Yang Dingtian could not feel such a terrifying and deep energy. The Snakemen were indeed the Snakemen. He did not know what methods she used to make herself so strong, but also those unfamiliar female Snakemen generals. Yang Dingtian stepped forward and bowed. "Yang Dingtian greets mother-in-law." "No, you don't have to pretend," Queen Hyexan said. "I believe you already know that your mother-in-law should be Queen Poisa, Dugu Shuang, Dugu Fengwu's mother, and also my good elder sister, Queen Poisa. I am the one who conspired to usurp the throne. You were deceived by me and killed Queen Poisa." Yang Dingtian trembled violently. Of course, his shock was not because of the content of these words. It was because Hyexan had completely torn off the face of the saintess. It was obvious that she had nothing to fear. After being the empire's queen for a year and a half, her heart and willpower had become incomparably strong. She was no longer like before, when she was secretly hiding things from Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian greets Her Majesty the Queen. Yang Dingtian changed the way he addressed her. "I believe you have seen it for yourself. I have finished what my elder sister did not finish. In fact, I have done it better than her," Queen Hyexan said slowly. "In the near future, the Snakemen Empire will become the strongest empire in the entire primal chaos world. In the near future, the human kingdoms will also crawl under the feet of the Snakemen Empire." Power was indeed a poison, an incomparably terrifying poison. In just a year and a half as queen, Hyexan had completely torn off all her hypocrisy and became so naked. "Speak, why are you looking for me?" Queen Hyexan said. Yang Dingtian said. Queen to ask for help? Against who? Hai Xian asked. Little Western Paradise, the young lord of one of the demon fox tribes, Yaoli. Yang Dingtian said. What is it? What is his cultivation level? Hai Xian asked. My wife, Yao Rao, is a black-tailed demon fox from Little Western Paradise. She was once Yao Li's fiancée. He wants to take her away by force. Yang Dingtian said. And this Yao Li, I am no match for him. Half-saint, Hai Xian asked. I don't know, he should be more than 1,000 years old. Yang Dingtian said. In short, I gathered all the experts of the Council of Light, but they were no match for him. Hai Xian said. You want me to help you get rid of him? Yes. Yang Dingtian said. Hai Xian said. What price are you willing to pay? It's very simple, you will see soon. Yang Dingtian, who was originally respectful, suddenly said domineeringly. Then, he rushed over and pushed Queen Hai Xian down. Queen Hai Xian was caught off guard, and was instantly brought to the ground by Yang Dingtian. Chapter 731. Hai Xian was furious at first. No one had ever dared to be so impudent to the so-called Supreme Queen. But when she smelled the unique energy in Yang Dingtian's rough and violent aura, her heart swayed, and she was instantly mesmerized. Yang Dingtian kissed her little mouth fiercely. Although Queen Hai Xian was devastatingly beautiful, Yang Dingtian was not that anxious. But at this time, he wanted to catch her off guard and settle the situation in the shortest time possible. Hai Xian did not expect Yang Dingtian's sudden action at all, and she could not reject the unique energy in Yang Dingtian's body, so she instantly fell into a daze. If they were husband and wife, Yang Dingtian would definitely take it step by step. But now it could be said that they were in a war. The most important thing was to take her down as soon as possible. Yang Dingtian made a prompt decision to take down Queen Hai Xian. Suddenly, Queen Hai Xian's eyes flashed with a painful light. Then she suddenly struck out with her palm. Uft! Yang Dingtian's body flew out like a straw and smashed into the golden wall, spitting out blood. Queen Hai Xian sat up from the bed, panting, and wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. Of course, Yang Dingtian's blood was from the internal injury caused by the palm, and Queen Hai Xian's blood was from Yang Dingtian biting her tongue and the corner of her mouth. Yang Dingtian, I purposely seduced you that day and flirted with you, but you looked at me with disgust. Why are you so impatient today? Hai Xian picked up a bottle of clear water and poured it into her mouth, trying to cool herself down. Queen Hai Xian did not hide her sarcastic tone in her words. Yang Dingtian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, Isn't it because I have something to ask of your majesty? Yang Dingtian's reply also felt a little shameless. No, of course not, Hai Xian sneered. You hate me in your heart, but you don't want me to fall into Dongli's hands. Because the secret of you making the Naga race and the demonic fox race go into heat has already been exposed, and that is the darkness profound flame. As for Dongli, he was creating the darkness profound flame. Once he succeeds, he will be able to make me fall in love and impregnate me. That way, he would become the husband of the queen and obtain the incomparably powerful strength of the Naga Empire. That's why you couldn't wait to rush to the Naga Empire to forcefully cook rice, right? Yang Dingtian did not speak, nor did he refute. Your so-called request to kill Yao Li for you is also a lie, Hai Xian said. The Little Western Paradise is a world created by the fallen silver dragon. How powerful is it? If I kill Yao Li, countless silver dragon bloodline warriors will become enemies with the Snakeman Empire. You clearly know that I won't agree, and you definitely won't ask me to help kill Yao Li. You only rely on yourself for everything, and you didn't even ask me to help you deal with Walingzi, so why would you ask me about Yao Li? Your Majesty is indeed unparalleled in intelligence. Yang Dingtian stood up and walked in front of Hai Xian, stared at her impudently, and said, Then Your Majesty, how are you going to deal with me? Wait, we will wait together. Hai Xian said, When Dongli succeeds in creating the darkness profound flame, and when he can make me give birth to a demigod descendant, you can die. How ruthless of you. Yang Dingtian pinched Hai Xian's neck, bit it, and then merged his blood into her wound. That's right, he definitely wouldn't give up. He still wanted to think of a way to let his blood enter her body and make Queen Hyexan enter an even more intense state of passion and lose her mind. Hyexan's heart trembled, and she almost lost her mind. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's unique aura merged into her blood. Queen Hyexan almost couldn't resist. Bang! She suddenly slapped out, and directly sent Yang Dingtian flying, spitting out blood. Immediately, Yang Dingtian's profound veins felt as if they were about to be torn apart inch by inch. His internal injuries had become even more serious. Hyexan's attacks were indeed ruthless. Yang Dingtian, you can play with me, but it won't be good if you make such big movements and bite me until I bleed. Hyexan sneered. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "You'd rather let that bastard Dongli take advantage of you than let me take advantage of you, right?" "Of course." Hyexan smiled and said, "A queen can only have a gigolo, and not a husband. You Yang Dingtian don't have any greed, and are too selfless. I can't control you, and you can't become my gigolo. But Dongli is different. Not to mention being a gigolo. Even if he were to be a dog, he would be willing. Your Majesty, don't forget, Dongli belongs to the evil ways, and is one of the adopted sons of the demon king Wentian. How could he be so easily controlled by you?" Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "I want to cooperate with the evil ways. Dongli and I can be used as a bridge for cooperation." Queen Hyexan giggled and said, "You should know that I've taken in many leaders of the central continent, and they are all officials in my empire. I promised them that when my Snake People Empire completely destroys the human countries in the future, they will rule the entire human race in my place. They are wild with joy, and can't wait to kneel down and lick the soles of my shoes. But how noble am I? How can I let these lowly humans lick the soles of my shoes?" Yang Dingtian's smile gradually disappeared and said, "But if I die, the human countries will be in a state of disunity. At that time, the World Extermination War won't happen. If the World Extermination War won't happen, it will go against the Demon King Wentian's will. What does that have to do with me?" Queen Hyexan said indifferently, "I want to cooperate with them, but it doesn't mean that I have to obey their interests. What I want is the human countries, and a tool that can help me conceive. That's all." Then, Queen Hyexan gently bent down and laid down on her side. Yang Dingtian, in the ancient times, the Naga Empire wiped out tens of billions of underwater life forms, ruled the entire underwater world, and established the most powerful empire in history. Hyexan giggled and said, "Now it's my turn to establish the most powerful empire in history. The lands that have already been discovered, and the lands that have yet to be discovered. From the eastern cloud state to the far west continent, from the North Pole to the Snow Tribe and the South Pole. All of them will become the territory of my Naga Empire. Do you think that you, a mere Yang Dingtian, can compare to my ambition?" Yang Dingtian said, "It seems that power is really an incomparable poison. A year and a half ago, just usurping the Naga Empire was enough to make you extremely satisfied. But now, the entire primal chaos world seems to be unable to satisfy your appetite. The empire is as big as your heart. And the more power you have, the more your heart is." Queen Hyexan hooked her finger and said, "Dongli is about to succeed. You don't have much time left to live. During this time, you should enjoy your last moments." "Hyexan, where's Huangyu?" Yang Dingtian suddenly asked. "She fell out with me." Hyexan said indifferently, "She ran off to do something she shouldn't do. She's challenging my bottom line." "What about Viper Mo and the others?" Yang Dingtian asked. "They were purged, but I couldn't bear to kill them." Hyexan said. "What about Day by Day Bella, and the elites of the resistance?" Yang Dingtian asked. "They were exiled." Hyexan said. "My tolerance for them is already very high, but they still cross my bottom line. Why can't those female Naga generals fall in love?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Because I removed something from their bodies and removed it." Hyexan said indifferently. "So they will never fall in love again." Yang Dingtian's eyebrows suddenly twitched. Queen Hyexan wanted to rule the entire world. Only she alone would be allowed to give birth to the demigod tribe. Then why did Viper Z and those female Naga generals suddenly become so strong? Yang Dingtian asked. Hai Xian smiled and said, Of course there's a reason, but it's not convenient to tell you. After all, we Nagas are different from you humans. Yang Dingtian looked at the dome of the palace and said, I once thought that you would change like this, but I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. You're too naive, Yang Dingtian. Queen Seaheart said indifferently, Not everyone is as stupid as you. Not everyone is as disdainful as you. You really want to kill me? Yang Dingtian asked. Queen Hai Xian said, Yes, your growth is too terrifying. If I give you a few more years, you might be even stronger than me. At that time, the one dead will be me. My dream of the Naga Empire will be completely shattered. So I won't let you live. Then what if Dongli doesn't succeed in creating the darkness profound flame? Yang Dingtian asked. Hai Xian said, How can it not succeed? Isn't it just to balance the energy of the darkness profound flame, burning the darkness crystal, and let the two perish together to give birth to the flame? If Dongli doesn't succeed in such a simple matter, then he can die. Then, she took out an incomparably gorgeous golden dagger and handed it to Yang Dingtian. Look at this dagger, I made it especially for you. Yang Dingtian took it and looked. It was really made especially for Yang Dingtian, because there was a sculpture of Yang Dingtian on the hilt. Originally, it was a gift for you. Now that you are no longer irreplaceable, I might as well use it to send you on your way. Hai Xian opened her jade-like hand gently, and the golden dagger was instantly sucked into her palm. Then, she slowly placed it on Yang Dingtian's neck and said gently, As long as Dongli succeeds, I will use this dagger to cut off your head and use the golden sculpture to create your body. I will make you a complete person and place you in my palace to accompany me at all times. At this moment Dongli, who was thousands of miles away, had reached the most crucial moment. The darkness crystal used to create the darkness profound flame could not be too big, or else there would not be a profound flame of such a level. However, he did not dare to use too small of a darkness crystal. He was afraid that the darkness profound flame would not be enough to make Queen Hai Xian go into heat. However, the darkness crystal was so precious that it was impossible to have a large stockpile, let alone a large or small one. Therefore, Queen Hai Xian and Dongli mobilized hundreds of thousands of people to transport the seawater down from the Red Sea. Then, they mobilized hundreds of experts and hundreds of warlocks to extract the darkness crystal from the seawater. Hundreds of thousands of people worked for a day and a night. They extracted an extremely small darkness crystal. It was much, much smaller than the one that Yang Dingtian had swallowed. It was about 100 times smaller than the one in Yin Yan's body. This was the most suitable level of energy that he had calculated. Once he succeeded, it would mean that the darkness profound flame that Dongli had produced was about 100 times smaller than the one that Yang Dingtian had when it was born. This darkness crystal floated in front of him. Whoosh! Dongli suddenly summoned the profound flame and started to burn this thing. At the beginning, he carefully used less than 1,000th of the energy. The darkness crystal crazily swallowed the energy of the profound flame. Therefore, Dongli quickly increased the energy of the profound flame. The darkness crystal continued to swallow crazily. Dongli kept injecting profound qi into it. The energy of the profound flame became stronger and stronger. Finally, 15 minutes later, the energy of the profound flame and the darkness crystal reached a balance. As long as both parties perished together, the darkness profound flame would be born. Whether it was a success or a failure, it was now. Chapter 732. Finally, the dark crystal stopped devouring the mystic flame's energy and gradually changed color. Dongli almost held his breath, because an incomparably powerful snakeman empire was waving at him. The color of the dark crystal gradually changed from the black hole-like darkness to black. That's right, it only revealed its normal black color at this moment. The mystic flame continued to burn, and Dongli kept injecting mystic qi energy into the mystic flame. The dark crystal continued to change, from black to black red. Then it turned red again. Dongli did not know how Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming reacted when they obtained the dark mystic flame. But at this moment, it was as if he had opened a secret door. And this door led to another world, the most mysterious and mysterious world. He almost felt suffocated, and was incomparably excited. The color of the dark crystal became redder and redder. Dongli was about to succeed, he was about to succeed. Finally, the dark crystal was red to the extreme, and was exactly the same color as the mystic flame. It was as if it was about to shatter and turn into ashes. Then, the dark crystal suddenly became very unstable, as if it was desperately struggling and bursting. Bang! The dark crystal, which had been heated to an extreme red, suddenly exploded. Then, a half-foot black hole suddenly appeared on Dongli's palm. As if he had seen the birth of history, Dongli's entire body was trembling. This scene was really too mysterious, too mysterious. Then, the black hole crazily devoured the energy in Dongli's body, and the mystic flame. Take it, take everything. Dongli was agitated, and his voice was shrill. The black hole kept devouring, it crazily devoured the mystic flame in Dongli's body. And then everything gradually became quiet. The black hole suddenly began to condense and condense. It became a dark crystal again. But this dark crystal seemed to be much bigger than the previous one. And its color seemed to be more dazzling. Dongli was stunned. Why did it change back? Bang! But at this time, this brand new darkness crystal suddenly cracked open, and a black flame came out of the crack, floating in the air. It was an extremely dark flame, but also an extremely beautiful flame. Dongli looked at the flame, his whole body trembling violently, and his hair stood on end. He did it. This darkness profound flame was 100 times bigger than the one that Yang Dingtian had created back then. He had successfully created the darkness profound flame, even though he was the third person in this world. However, this meant that he would have Queen Hai Xian and the incomparably powerful Naga Empire. How many years has it been? Dongli had been wandering in this grassland for many years for this goal. Now he had finally succeeded. Wu Yuming should have taken control of the entire Tiando League. But he failed. What Dongli wanted to control was the even more powerful Naga Empire. And he succeeded. The entire East Parting grassland would be his. The entire Snakeman Empire would be his. The peerless beauty, the devastatingly beautiful Queen Hai Xian, belonged to him from now on. Dongli held the darkness profound flame with both hands, resisting the urge to cry. Looking at her, he felt his eyes heating up. What a beautiful darkness profound flame. No wonder it could make the Naga clan go into heat. And no wonder it could make the Sky Fox clan go into heat. Dongli gently took back the darkness profound flame, and was about to swallow it into his chi. However, at this time, the darkness profound flame suddenly emitted an abnormal light. Blue for a while, green for a while, red for a while, and then gray for a while. This newly born darkness profound flame suddenly became extremely unstable, and there seemed to be a lot of impurities that kept pouring out. Then, bang! The entire darkness profound flame suddenly exploded, and then completely turned into ashes and disappeared in the air. Dongli was stunned, completely stunned. What was going on? What the hell is going on? The darkness profound flame had clearly been born. Why did it disappear? Where is it? Where is it? Dongli said in a trembling voice, and then desperately reached out his hand to feel in the air, trying to touch his darkness profound flame. My darkness profound flame, my darkness profound flame, where is it? Where is it? Dongli shouted, and then rushed to Mudan, and said sternly, Is it you? Is it you who swallowed my darkness profound flame? Is it you who stole my darkness profound flame? Dongli almost went crazy, completely crazy. Heaven was so close to him, and now it suddenly kicked him into hell. Why? Why? The darkness profound flame has already been extinguished. Princess Mudan said. Why? Impossible, impossible. Dongli said sternly. Mudan said, It should be your profound flame, not strong enough, not pure enough. Dongli said sternly, I have the earth profound flame, and the heaven profound flame. Is it still not enough? Is it still not enough? Mudan said, Yes, it's still not enough. Yu Ming has the heaven and earth profound flame, the great raging flame, And Yang Dingtian has the heaven and earth profound flame, the million spirits demonic flame. So your profound flame's level is still not enough. Ah, 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 Dongli shouted sternly. Heaven, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? After venting crazily for a full 15 minutes, Dongli calmed down and said, Are there still those heaven and earth profound flames? Mudan said, There are two more, the second-ranked void-splitting flame, and the first-ranked chaos spirit flame. Dongli's eyes were burning, and his face was almost distorted. Where are they? The void-splitting flame will bloom soon, at the end of the world, at the border of the void. Mudan said, And this profound flame has been targeted by the demonic Fox clan, and they are determined to get it. Dongli said, Although this void-splitting flame is precious, the demonic Fox clan is so powerful, they won't need it too much. Mudan said, That's right, but the void-splitting flame's special attribute is to pass through space and jump through space. 200 years ago, because His Majesty the Demon King had this profound flame, he was able to avoid the end of being destroyed. The demonic Fox clan wants to use this void-splitting flame to jump into the ruins of the Naga Empire and find the boundless treasures. Suddenly, Dongli's eyes shrank, and then he said coldly, I don't care what the demonic Fox clan thinks, but I must get this void-splitting flame. Mudan said lightly, Originally, this profound flame was going to be given to Dongfang Bingling, but her soul is too restless, and this void-splitting flame is related to the real resurrection of His Majesty the Demon King, and it is very important. When swallowing the profound flame, it will cause an intense conflict of energy in the body, and it will easily give Dongfang Bingling a chance to take advantage of it. So this profound flame can't be given to her, and giving it to you might be the real deal. Mudan and Dongfang Bingling obviously have the same body, but when talking about Bingling, he kept using the third person, as if it was another person. Then Mudan said, Let's go, although it's bad news. But we have to tell Queen Hyexian. Now is not the time to anger her. Yang Dingtian looked at the empire's capital through the window of the main hall. It's only been a year and a half. I really don't dare to imagine how you built such a huge pyramid in the world's biggest city. Yang Dingtian said, It's very simple, just use your life to pile it up. Queen Hyexian said, How many people died? Yang Dingtian asked. Tens of millions. I forgot. Queen Hyexian said carelessly, Yang Dingtian, do you know how good the demonic Fox clan is at giving birth? Also, do you know how cheap their lives are? They can live no matter how they raise them. Do you know how many children a demonic Fox clan gives birth to in a year? 3. That's right, 3. Because for example, the werewolf clan, leopard clan, eagleman clan and so on, there are many in a nest. Yang Dingtian understood that the demonic Fox clan's womb was not just a little stronger than the humans. Also, the babies of the demonic Fox clan were much stronger. Do you know why there is a great war in the Dongli grassland every few decades? Because of the explosion in population. There is no way to raise so many demonic Fox clans. Therefore, it has to be destroyed every once in a while. Hyexian raised her hand and said, Now, I built a defense line of tens of thousands of miles, cultivated the entire imperial capital, and built this pyramid. Countless demonic Fox clan died, equivalent to the number of people who died in more than 10 wars. Even so, do you know how many demonic Fox clans there are in the entire Dongli grassland? 290 million. You didn't hear wrong, 290 million, and they are still giving birth. Yang Dingtian also felt his scalp go numb. The total land of the entire Dongli grassland was probably less than the total land of the north, northwest, and southwest continents. However, the farming skills of the demonic Fox clan were very ordinary. Queen Hyexian continued. Therefore, the construction of the imperial capital, the defense line, and all the major cities have been completed. What should we do? We can only start a war, we can only fight. 30 million, 50 million, 80 million. I will continuously transport the demonic Fox clan army to the human countries. You can imagine the consequences when that time comes. Yang Dingtian's mouth twitched. 50 million, 80 million demonic Fox clan army, that was equivalent to another Legion of Doom. Moreover, this number was not strange at all, because the demonic Fox clan was a soldier. Moreover, they did not need to bring rations with them when they fought. The only problem was how to transport this astronomical number of troops to the human countries. Hyexian said, "Actually, the demonic Fox clan has always been a huge threat to the human countries. However, these stupid tribes can never be united. They can never be unified. When they were at their most united, they were actually divided into a total of 19 factions. Now they are all under my Snakeman Empire, and have become one faction. Therefore, the good days of the humans are coming to an end." Queen Hyexian walked in front of young Dingtian, and gently caressed his face. She said in a hoarse voice, "Baby, it is not important whether there is a Legion of Doom or not. The end of the human countries will come no matter what." Then, she pulled out a dagger, and placed it on Yang Dingtian's neck. She said gently, "My little lover, Dongli is outside the palace now and will come in soon. Therefore your death has come. But this is also good. You won't have to see the tragic end of the human world, right?" Then Queen Hyexian gasped for breath and kissed Yang Dingtian. The golden dagger slowly sawed on Yang Dingtian's neck. Immediately, fresh blood gushed out. "Die, die, die. Once you die, everything will be over. Everything will be over." Hyexian kissed Yang Dingtian again and again. The golden dagger in her hand kept sawing. Blood instantly dyed Yang Dingtian's entire back red, and dripped on the soft carpet. At this moment Dongli suddenly rushed in. Seeing this extremely strange scene, his eyes were about to burst. Fury, jealousy, insanity, and the raging flames burned Dongli completely in an instant. He even ignored that Hyexian was about to cut off Yang Dingtian's head. He only saw that Yang Dingtian and Hyexian were kissing intimately. Dongli couldn't bear it anymore. He immediately rushed up like lightning and slammed his palm, wanting to smash Yang Dingtian into meat paste and crush Yang Dingtian's bones. This was his woman. Yang Dingtian dared to violate her like this. He wanted to tear Yang Dingtian into pieces. Tear him into pieces. Bang! However, before his palm could strike at Yang Dingtian's back, Yang Dingtian's figure suddenly changed. Queen Hyexian's jade-like hand suddenly slammed out. There was a loud noise. Dongli flew out directly. Then, Queen Hyexian said coldly, "Remember, this Yang Dingtian belongs to me, not you. You don't have the right to kill him. If anyone wants to kill him, it will be me. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Majesty." He knelt on the ground. Hyexian laughed and said, "Dongli, are you jealous?" Dongli said, "Yes, Your Majesty. I'm crazy jealous. It's burning my rationality." "No need to be jealous. Nothing really happened between me and Yang Dingtian." Queen Hyexian laughed and said, "I can't let you kill him. I want to kill him with my own hands. However, I can let you see how he dies." Then, the dagger in Hyexian's hand slashed slowly towards Yang Dingtian's neck. She wanted to completely cut off Yang Dingtian's head. Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "Your Majesty, you didn't even ask Dongli if he succeeded in creating the darkness mystic flame. You're too impatient." Hyexian's eyes suddenly turned cold and said, "Dongli, did you succeed?" Dongli trembled violently. Then he pressed his forehead tightly to the ground, and said in a trembling voice, I didn't succeed. I failed." Chapter 733. What? Queen Hyexian's face suddenly turned cold. She said angrily, "How can it fail? Yang Dingtian succeeded. Wu Yuming succeeded. This is a theory that has been completely proven. This is an extremely simple matter. How can it fail?" Dongli prostrated himself and said, "Because my mystic flame is not a heaven and earth mystic flame. It's not strong enough, and not pure enough. Therefore, the darkness mystic flame that was born only existed for a moment before it disappeared." After hearing this, Hyexian immediately fell into silence. This reason was very sufficient. The darkness mystic flame was so powerful, and its energy level was so high. Its requirements must be very strict. It was reasonable that an earth mystic flame, or even a heaven mystic flame, could not give birth to the darkness mystic flame. Queen Hyexian's hand suddenly stopped. She stopped cutting off Yang Dingtian's head. The golden dagger in her hand was really not an ordinary item. It was actually not stained with a single drop of blood. However, her jade-like hand was already dripping with blood. It was all Yang Dingtian's blood. Dongli's face was cold as he said, "Your Majesty, actually Yang Dingtian can still be killed. Because the second mystic flame in the world, the void-splitting flame, is about to bloom. The entire Temple of Annihilation will support me in obtaining this heaven and earth mystic flame. At that time I will succeed. I will be able to nurture a mystic flame that is of a higher level than Yang Dingtian and Wu Yuming. At that time, I will be able to successfully make you pregnant." Queen Hyexian did not speak. She only looked at Yang Dingtian's slightly mocking face. At this moment, her entire back was dripping with blood. Even her jade-like hand was covered in Yang Dingtian's blood. The smell of blood and the special energy aura caused Queen Hyexian's mind to waver. The fire in the depths of her heart burned fiercely. It was almost impossible to suppress it. Queen Hyexian used all her willpower to suppress the fire in her heart and said coldly, "Who knows if you will succeed? If you fail, Yang Dingtian will be my only hope to give birth to a demigod. If I kill him, won't I destroy the Naga Empire's hope of unifying the world in the future?" After that, Queen Hyexian abruptly locked all the profound veins in Yang Dingtian's body, rendering him completely immobile and unable to circulate any profound energy. "Men, imprison Yang Dingtian in the deepest dungeon at the bottom of the pyramid," Queen Hyexian ordered. Immediately, four Snake Woman generals stepped forward and escorted Yang Dingtian as they flew towards the depths of the pyramid's prison. Then Queen Hyexian said to Dongli, "I'll give you one last chance. As long as you return successfully, I'll kill Yang Dingtian." "Yes, Your Majesty." Dongli knelt and said. Hyexian suddenly said, "Why aren't you curious?" "I don't seem to have any interest in the second-ranked void-rending fire in the world," Dongli said. "Your subject doesn't know. It's good that you don't know," Hyexian said. "But you must remember, since you people of the evil ways have made a move, you must have it. You must not let the Fox clan get it. You must not let them enter the ruins of the Naga Empire." "Yes, Your Majesty," Dongli said in a trembling voice. "The ruins of the Naga Empire will forever belong to Your Majesty." Queen Hyexian waved her hand carelessly and said, "Remember, this is your last chance. Before you return successfully, or before you fail, I will imprison Yang Dingtian." In the depths of the pyramid's dungeon, Yang Dingtian could not move at all. Moreover, there were 4 great Grandmaster Naga female generals guarding him. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. He was indeed rash. When he heard that Dongli might succeed in conquering the entire Naga tribe, he was hot-headed and immediately rushed out. In the end, Dongli failed, and he became a prisoner. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was even more certain that he wasn't a wise and far-sighted person. A rational person would not take the risk. Moreover, he had underestimated Queen Hyexian's desire for power. Of course, perhaps this was not the right way to put it. In fact, Yang Dingtian had always been wary of Queen Hyexian. Therefore, after leaving Dongli grassland, Yang Dingtian had always avoided contact with her. Even if it was to deal with Wolingzi, he had never asked Hyexian for help. He had asked Duga Xiao for help many times, but he had never asked Hyexian for help. Moreover, Yang Dingtian had once said that if he succeeded in impregnating Queen Hyexian, it might be the time of his death. It could be seen that Yang Dingtian was still wise and could see everything clearly. However, his character was far from wise. He knew that if Dongli succeeded, he would die if he came to Dongli grassland. However, Yang Dingtian did not hesitate and came to Dongli grassland. He touched the deep wound on his neck and the blood all over his body. Even though he was mentally prepared, Yang Dingtian still didn't expect the Queen of the Sea Heart to have such a drastic change. She was actually so vicious and merciless that she didn't even try to avoid cutting off his head with her dagger. One must know that a year and a half ago, she still regarded him as her greatest benefactor. At that time, she did not know that Queen Poisa was already weak. She still thought that she was definitely going to die. She still thought that Yang Dingtian had not only helped her ascend to the throne, but also saved her life. Facing a man who had once moved her heart, who had once saved her life, she could even put aside her pride and kill him. She was indeed a cold-blooded hero, a creature of power. For power, she would kill anyone in the world that could be killed. Speaking of which, Yang Dingtian had seen many heroes. Qin Wanqiu was one, Zhu Qingzhu was another, Ning Wuming and Wu Yuming could all be counted. Each of these 4 people was an ambitious and ruthless person. They were all outstanding talents. Whether it was their willpower, wisdom, or methods, they were all top-notch. Yang Dingtian was far from them. However, none of them could be as thorough as Hai Xian. Ning Wuming was infatuated, while Wu Yuming was obsessed. Qin Wanqiu's hero attribute had a little bit of naivety and fantasy, as well as a little bit of persistence. In Zhu Qingzhu's hero attribute, he desperately wanted to inject a heroic spirit. Perhaps it was because he had knelt down in the soul-leaving palace decades ago, so he desperately wanted to straighten his back. However, there was no one who was as thorough as Hai Xian. She was the only one that Yang Dingtian had seen. For power, she exiled all the rebels that she relied on as her confidants. She exiled all the female disciples that she treated as her own daughters, cut off all the female members of the snake people race, and purged all the confidants of Queen Poisa. She was a truly emotionless person. For power and to achieve her goals, she would not hesitate to get rid of anyone in the world. To be honest, Yang Dingtian had once been soft-hearted towards Hai Xian. He had promised to help Queen Poisa regain her position. When he was strong enough, he would get rid of Queen Hai Xian. However, he had once hesitated whether or not he should kill Hai Xian when the time came. Now, it seemed that Hai Xian had to be killed without a doubt. Such a creature of power would only bring harm to the world. Of course, Yang Dingtian still had to think of a way to escape from here first. He had to escape, because there were only 6 days left from the time that Yao Li had given him. Within 6 days, if he did not return to Cloud Sky City, then something would happen. Something big would happen. At that time, Yao Li, that racist psychopath, would forcefully take Yao Rao and Yang Yi away. If Yao Rao did not obey, then a tragedy would happen. Furthermore, it would not only affect Yao Rao, but the entire Cloud Sky City. Although that bastard Yao Li was not a villain, he looked down on humans. If he went berserk and started a massacre in Cloud Sky City, that would be the most terrifying thing. To him, killing a few humans was like eating a river or stepping on ants. There was no psychological burden, but how could he get out? His entire body's mystic meridians were locked. He could not move at all, nor could he circulate his mystic qi. He could not even open his mouth to speak. Furthermore, he was a few thousand meters under the pyramid. Who knew how many Grandmaster Realm experts were guarding the pyramid? There were even 4 at the entrance of the prison. From the looks of it, it was impossible to escape. However, as long as he could recover his mystic qi, it would not be difficult to escape. That was because he had Wu Maji's demonic spirit mist cloak in his spatial ring. Furthermore, he had the invisibility mystic skill. He might not be able to escape from under Hai Xian's nose, but escaping from a group of Grandmaster Realm experts would be a piece of cake. Therefore, the key was to recover his mystic qi. Then, how should he recover his mystic qi? Hai Xian used an extremely powerful energy to lock Yang Dingtian's mystic meridians, causing his mystic qi to be unable to circulate. Then, he would need an extremely powerful or high-grade energy to break through these seals. Without a doubt, Yang Dingtian possessed this energy. Lightning energy could ignore any defense and could instantly tear apart these energy seals. Therefore, he only needed to release lightning from his energy vessel into his mystic meridians. To be precise, it was to create a lightning mystic skill within Yang Dingtian's mystic meridians. However, the problem was that the connection between Yang Dingtian's energy vessel and mystic meridians had been completely sealed by Hai Xian. In other words, Yang Dingtian's energy vessel had been isolated. Yang Dingtian could not feel his own energy vessel, nor could he control his energy vessel. Now the only way was to rely on the soul of Queen Poisa in Yang Dingtian's mind. Let her think of a way to enter his energy vessel. Yang Dingtian would make use of her consciousness to control the mystic flame, create lightning, and break through the seal of his mystic meridians. At this moment, although he couldn't move his body, speak, or even blink his eyes, he still couldn't move his body. However, he could still think in his mind. Sha 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 sha. Yang Dingtian began to wake up the sleeping Queen Poisa in his mind. At this moment, Ling Wu and Wu Yuming had just entered the Snake People Empire of the Dongli Prairie. The day before yesterday, Ling Wu had devoured her first mystic flame in the Devil region. Although it was only an Earth-grade mystic flame, it still allowed her to break through from a 2nd-grade Grandmaster to a 4th-grade Grandmaster. Next, Wu Yuming would bring her to devour her 2nd mystic flame. It was still an Earth-grade mystic flame. For the past 100 years, Wu Yuming was like an invisible person who walked in every corner of the world. There was no one in the world who was clearer than him about the various types of mystic flames. Therefore, a mystic flame required thousands of miles of continents to nurture. Some bloomed once every few decades, while some bloomed once every 100 or 200 years. To others, these mystic flames were incomparably precious and rare. However, to Wu Yuming, these mystic flames were not too rare. At least, he had devoured a heaven and earth-grade mystic flame, and 7 to 8 other mystic flames by himself. Therefore, in the next few years, he would bring Ling Wu along and travel the world. He would give all the earth-grade mystic flames, and heaven-grade mystic flames, that he knew of to Ling Wu. This way, Ling Wu would be able to walk in front of a 2nd-grade evil spirit forever, until she defeated the 2nd-grade evil spirit. This 2nd mystic flame was located in a poisonous miasma forest at the northwest corner of the Dongli Prairie. Other than Wu Yuming, there was probably no one else who knew about it. This earth-grade mystic flame bloomed once every 50 years. In about 3 months it would bloom. However, on the way to the poisonous miasma forest, Wu Yuming and Ling Wu met Princess Mu Dan. Were you the ones who told Yang Dingtian about Dongli creating the darkness mystic flame and wanting to conquer Queen Hyexian? Mu Dan asked as she looked at Ling Wu coldly. Yes. Wu Yuming said indifferently. What's wrong? Nothing. Mu Dan said coldly. Wu Yuming, before His Majesty makes a decision on you, I won't do anything to you. However, Dongli will go and devour the void-splitting flame soon. I hope you won't cause any trouble. I'm not interested. Wu Yuming said indifferently. Mu Dan said, actually, by telling Yang Dingtian about Dongli, you've harmed him instead. He's already imprisoned and his death is not far away. After saying that, Mu Dan flew away and disappeared without a trace. Ling Wu trembled and looked at Wu Yuming immediately. Wu Yuming said with a bitter expression, Little Wu, Yang Dingtian is my enemy. It's fine if I don't kill him. You can't be thinking of asking me to save him, right? Do you have to be so absurd? Ling Wu's face drooped. Chapter 734. Big Brother. I feel that Yang Dingtian being imprisoned by Queen Hyexian is actually our responsibility, right? Ling Wu said. Wu Yuming frowned. Ling Wu continued, say it. If I didn't tell Yang Dingtian about this matter, he wouldn't have come to the Dongli grasslands. If he didn't come to the Dongli grasslands, he wouldn't have been captured, right? Wu Yuming nodded. Ling Wu said, besides, isn't there still half a year before the 2nd Earth-grade mystic flame in the poisonous miasma forest? During this period of time, we'll be idle anyway. Wu Yuming nodded and said, Little Wu, I feel that what you've said is very reasonable. However, can you give me a reason to save Yang Dingtian? Ling Wu thought for a while, but was unable to think of a reason. Wu Yuming said, besides, Little Wu, you women are too fickle. Previously, you and Yang Dingtian were at loggerheads and did your best to help me deal with him. Now you want to save him again. In short, you really need to give me a sufficient reason. Ling Wu thought for a while and said, the first reason is that this matter has sufficiently proved that we have to care less about Yang Dingtian's matters in the future. Otherwise, new problems will arise. Therefore, we have to restore the entire matter to its original state and save Yang Dingtian. It just so happens that we'll cancel each other out. After all, It's because of us, Yang Dingtian, that he was imprisoned. Wu Yuming thought for a while and said, this can be considered as a reason. However, it's still not enough. Is there a second reason? Ling Wu said, the second reason is that when I think of Yang Dingtian needing me to save him one day, I feel delighted. All right, Wu Yuming said, this reason is sufficient. Let's go. Let's go and save him. However, let's make it clear that I won't meet him. Yes. Ling Wu nodded her head vigorously and flew towards the capital of the Snakeman Empire. Suddenly, she opened her mouth and said, that's right, big brother. Will you be in danger if you go up against Queen Hyxin? She is very powerful. Wu Yuming sighed. Don't worry, silly girl. We won't meet Hyxin. Ling Wu asked, why? Wu Yuming said, Princess Mu Dan will help us lure Hyxin away. Why do you think she came to us? She wants us to save Yang Dingtian. No matter the reason, she doesn't want Yang Dingtian to die. Ah, Ling Wu was stunned. Queen Poise's consciousness energy easily passed through the other profound veins and reached the entrance of the energy sea. However, there was another problem. Its spiritual energy could not enter the Qi Sea. Under normal circumstances, only the pure profound energy used for cultivation could enter from the outside. Furthermore, the spiritual energy wrapped in primal chaos profound energy could enter the Qi Sea. At this moment, the connection between the profound veins and the Qi Sea was completely blocked. Yang Dingtian's primal chaos profound energy was basically unable to come out from the Qi Sea. It was also basically unable to bring Queen Poise's spiritual energy into the Qi Sea. Queen Poise's spiritual energy could not enter the Qi Sea. Therefore, it was unable to create lightning within her body and break through Queen Hyxin's energy seal. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian was completely at his wit's end. Immediately, Poise's spiritual energy was knocking around the entrance of Yang Dingtian's Qi Sea in a panic. However, it was completely useless. Yang Dingtian was burning with anxiety, yet he was completely at his wit's end. Could it be that he was really going to be trapped here alive? Was he going to watch helplessly as Yao Li took Yao Rao and Yang Yi away? No, he absolutely couldn't. Even if he had to die, he couldn't. He had to get out immediately. Yang Dingtian's brain was working at lightning speed as he tried to find a way to escape. However, no matter what he thought of, it was all to no avail. Once the Qi Sea was completely sealed, then nothing could be done. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian could not move at all. Even if he wanted to wake up Naga Aoshuang in the spatial ring, it was completely impossible. Think. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian thought of an idea. Put yourself in a situation of death, and then come back to life. That's right, this was truly putting yourself in a situation of death, and then coming back to life. It was an absolutely dangerous move. Let his brain sink into the deepest and deepest meditation, and then directly die in the meditation world. At that time, the brain would really think that he was dead and would stop all control of his body. At that time, the darkness profound flame in the Qi Sea would desperately try to save him and wake him up. This was the profound flame's instinct. Saving its master was equivalent to saving itself. These energy seals were nothing in front of the darkness profound flame. It could easily break through them. However, this was completely dependent on Yang Dingtian's own theory. There was still no proof. And once it failed, then, although Yang Dingtian was not really dead, it was no different from being dead. He would sink into the deepest meditation and be lost forever. Yang Dingtian carefully thought about this method and theory. No matter how he thought about it, he felt that it was extremely absurd. No matter how he thought about it, he felt that there was only a slim chance of survival. But at this time, there was already no other way. Clenching his teeth, Yang Dingtian was going to try out this absurd theory that didn't have any support. At this moment, whoosh, suddenly, a black shadow flashed and entered. It was actually Viper Z. Yang Dingtian easily recognized that it was Viper Z through her eyes. Yang Dingtian looked at her in astonishment. Don't look at me like that. Although I have already lost the most important thing to me, so I can't transform or give birth to offspring. Viper Z said in a low voice. But after all, I have once been aroused. To the snake people, An instant is a lifetime. Other than the instinct to give birth to offspring, there is also the affection in the heart. I will kill the other 3 snake people female generals and save you. Yang Dingtian was completely unable to move. He desperately wanted to shake his head. Kuei-zi wanting to save him was completely a fool's dream. How many snake people experts were there in this pyramid? And as long as Queen Hai Xian was here, Kuei-zi would not be able to save him. Instead, he would lose his life. Don't worry, Queen Hai Xian is not here. She has left. Viper Z said. But she has locked your profound veins. I can't undo it. You can only go back and think of a way yourselves. Yang Dingtian was unable to speak or move. He could only stare at Viper Z with all his might to stop her. If she wanted to take him away like this, she would definitely die. However, Viper Z could not read Yang Dingtian's eyes at all. She directly grabbed him and was about to rush out. Yang Dingtian was burning with anxiety. He desperately said to Queen Poisa in his mind, Sha, think of a way. Quickly think of a way to stop her. Otherwise, she will die and I won't be able to get out. Don't worry, Queen Poisa said. I have a way. Then Queen Poisa's consciousness suddenly poured into Yang Dingtian's eyes. In an instant, the light in Yang Dingtian's eyes changed. His pupils shrank. In an instant, his eyes emitted a strange light like those of the snake people. Viper Z was stunned. She looked at Yang Dingtian's eyes in disbelief. Then, the light in Yang Dingtian's eyes kept changing. This was the unique communication method of the snake people. In fact, before the snake people turned into human form, when they were still in snake form, they communicated with each other either by shaking their tails or by swallowing and spitting. The most secretive and high-level communication was through the communication of the light in their eyes. Especially when 2 snakes were in heat, their eyes were always tightly locked, conveying incomparably rich information. If you save me like this, you will die too. Yang Dingtian used Queen Poisa's special communication method to communicate with Viper Z. I'm not afraid of death, Viper Z said. Anyway, I'd rather die than live now. My future hope has all been destroyed. No, not only will you die like this, but you can't save me at all. After Hai Xian left, there are many other snake people masters in the Pyramid Palace. Viper Z said, I don't care. In short, I have to try. Even if I rely on her, I can't save Viper Mo and the others. I might as well die like this. Listen to me. Think of a way to undo the seal on my profound veins. I can escape on my own, and you won't be in danger. Yang Dingtian said. Viper Z said, I'm sorry. I can't undo Queen Hai Xian's energy seal unless it's a half-saint expert. Yang Dingtian fell into deep thought. Now that Viper Z was here, he could think of a way. There must be a way. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian's eyes lit up. That's right, I got it. Yang Dingtian immediately asked Queen Poisa. Do you have darkness crystals? Think of a way to get some, just a little bit. I have. Viper Z said. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be stunned. Why would Viper Z carry darkness crystals with her? Then Viper Z suddenly pulled out her sword. At the tip of the sword, there was indeed a very small darkness crystal. Queen Poisa actually let her subordinates embed the darkness crystal in their weapons. What was she planning to do? Wouldn't a large portion of profound energy be devoured by the darkness crystal during battle? But no matter what, it was good to have the darkness crystal. Moreover, this one was so small that it was almost the same as the one in Yin-Yan's body. It couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Viper Z used the bloody black gold dagger to scrape off the darkness crystal. She placed it in her palm and said, What should we do now? Put it in my mouth and pour water down it. Yang Dingtian said. Immediately, Viper Z was stunned. This darkness crystal was the most terrifying thing in the world. Could it be eaten? Don't worry. I've eaten all the darkness crystals that are tens of thousands of times bigger than this one. Yang Dingtian said. Then, Viper Z worriedly fed the darkness crystal, along with the sword tip, into Yang Dingtian's mouth. The instant that the tiny darkness crystal entered Yang Dingtian's body. Boom! The black-green mystic flame in his chi si seemed to have seen something extremely delicious. And it suddenly woke up. Then, like a demon, a flame tentacle quickly stretched out from the abyss of his chi si, and suddenly rushed out of the Qi Sea, and instantly swallowed up the energy of this dark crystal completely. Anhai-Xian's seal on the exit of his energy sea was instantly shattered without any effort. And after that black-green profound flame devoured the extremely smiling darkness crystal, it immediately dived back into the depths of his energy sea and continued to sleep. After the exit of his energy sea was unsealed, Yang Dingtian easily let some of the primal chaos attribute yin-yang profound flame overflow from his energy sea. Then it lightly collided with his profound veins. Pa! Extremely smiling lightning abruptly burst forth from within his profound veins. In an instant, all the seals were smashed to pieces. It was still the same saying, no matter how small the lightning energy was, it could completely ignore any energy defense. In an instant, Yang Dingtian completely recovered his profound energy and regained his mobility. Then, he took out the Devil's Spirit Mist robe from his spatial ring and quickly put it on. Then, he took out another set of clothes and put them on, finally avoiding the embarrassment of being completely naked. Viper Z, come with me. Come with me to the human kingdom? Yang Dingtian asked. Viper Z desperately shook her head and said, no, if I leave, Viper Mo and the others will be dead for sure. Where are they? Take me to them. Yang Dingtian said. And Huang Yu and Day by Day Bella? Where are they? No, you can't go see them. If you don't go see them, they might not die for a while. If you go see them, they will definitely die. Viper Z said. Yang Dingtian thought for a moment and immediately understood this logic. If Yang Dingtian escaped alone, Hai-Xian might be very angry, but she would definitely not vent her anger on Viper Mo and Huang Yu. But if Yang Dingtian went to see them, then they would definitely die for sure. Moreover, the current Yang Dingtian did not have the ability to save all of them. At this time, the snake people race was already filled with experts. Oh right, why did Queen Hai-Xian's cultivation advance by leaps and bounds? How did the experts of your snake people race become so powerful? Yang Dingtian asked. I remember that you were only a 9-star grandmaster before. In just 1.5 years, you actually became a 9-star great grandmaster. Viper Z's expression changed and she said, it's a kind of evil technique that devours the energy of living people. It's a kind of evil technique of the snake people race. All the snake people race who oppose her are all energy providers. All the opponents of the half-human race are all energy offerings. She has already devoured countless experts of the half-human race. She can transform a person's life into a very powerful and precious energy. Then Huang Yu and Xiang Xiang, will they be okay? What about Viper Mo and the others? Yang Dingtian asked. Huang Yu and Xiang Xiang have been completely exiled. Viper Z said, I don't know where Viper Mo is imprisoned. The reason why I'm relying on her is to save Viper Mo. However, I still can't find where they are imprisoned. Then leave with me, Yang Dingtian said. Otherwise you'll die here. No, if I leave, Viper Mo will be completely hopeless. Viper Z said. Moreover, if I leave, it'll be equivalent to betraying my sisters. But if you don't leave, Hai-Xian will definitely suspect you. She'd rather kill the wrong person than let you go. Yang Dingtian said. Right at this moment. Bang! Suddenly, the thick golden door was scorched through. Then, Lingwu rushed in and said, Yang Dingtian, we're here to save you. Yang Dingtian was stunned. What's going on? Chapter 735. Yang Dingtian and Ling Wu had merely met face to face. The moment she saw Yang Dingtian, Ling Wu was stunned and said, So you're fine. Then aren't we unnecessary? Yang Dingtian had never dreamt that Ling Wu would come to save him. Even if he had opened a hole in his brain, he would never have thought of this outcome. Ah no, Ling Wu, I'm really happy to see you here. Yang Dingtian hurriedly said, Thank you. Oh, Ling Wu looked at Viper Z who was beside Yang Dingtian, with a somewhat complicated expression. She pursed her lips and said, But you're really amazing. No matter where you are, there are peerless beauties who are willing to sacrifice their lives for you. Moreover, there's no distinction between races. I'm ashamed. Yang Dingtian said embarrassedly. Oh right, Brother Netherworld is here too? Yes. Ling Wu had just finished speaking when she let out a low cry. This was because Wu Yuming had disappeared without a trace in an instant. In any case, he had said before that he would absolutely not meet Yang Dingtian face to face. Then I'll be leaving too, Ling Wu said. No. Take care, Yang Dingtian said. Then he said to Viper Z, are you really not going to return to the human countries with me? Viper Z shook her head vigorously and said, I want to stay and think of a way to save Viper Mo and the rest. Remember, you must never come back before you're strong enough. After leaving this place, you must return to the human continent directly. You must never look for Xiang and Huangyu. If you don't look for them, they won't die. If you do, they'll definitely die. Moreover, there's a large group of them. It's impossible for you to bring all of them away. Yang Dingtian nodded vigorously. Then he said to Ling Wu, I'll have to trouble Brother Netherworld to make a move and knock this Viper Z out. Don't let her arouse Queen Hai Xian's suspicion. Ling Wu was stunned for a moment. After that she nodded her head. Yang Dingtian stepped forward and gently hugged her. Help me tell Brother Netherworld that I also thank him. Whoosh. Then, Yang Dingtian instantly flashed and disappeared without a trace. On top of the pyramid, Wu Yuming was carrying dozens of Naga experts by herself. After breaking through to the half-saint realm, he was so awesome. He was able to take on dozens of top experts with ease. Brother Netherworld. Yang Dingtian floated in the air and shouted out loudly. Wu Yuming suddenly flashed and appeared in the dungeon at the bottom of the pyramid. In any case, he and Yang Dingtian were kings who would never meet another king. Let's go. Let's see what you found for me. Wu Yuming grabbed onto Ling Wu's arm and was about to disappear without a trace. Wait, Ling Wu said. Big brother. Yang Dingtian asked us to help him knock out his Naga lover. Fuck. Wu Yuming couldn't bear it any longer. He, who never used vulgarities, had finally cursed. Viper Z smiled embarrassedly at him and said, You're Yang Dingtian's friend. Before she could finish her words, Wu Yuming suddenly struck her with his palm and knocked her unconscious. He didn't want to hear what she was going to say next. Looking at the other 3 Naga corpses on the ground, he suddenly struck out with his palm. The corpses were instantly smashed into pieces and turned into ashes. Then, he grabbed onto Ling Wu's arm and flashed and disappeared without a trace. He headed towards the northwest direction. Little Wu, don't look for me again if something like this happens next time. Wu Yuming said hatefully. What the hell was going on? Yang Dingtian vaguely knew where Huangyu should be. It was the Sacred Valley that Hai Xian had led the rebel army to defend back then. Wearing the Devil Spirit Mist cloak, he quickly arrived at the sky above the Sacred Valley. Sure enough, Yang Dingtian saw a large group of people here. They were living the most difficult life in the Sacred Valley. Not far from the Sacred Valley was the huge defensive line of the Naga Empire. There were also hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Day by day Bella, Xiang, and Huangyu were all in the Sacred Valley. They weren't part of the rebel army yet. Instead, they were considered exiles and people who didn't associate themselves with evil deeds. The reason why they were living here was to show that they had completely broken off their relationship with Queen Hai Xian. There were only hundreds of thousands of people in the entire Sacred Valley. Yang Dingtian didn't go down to see them. Just like what Viper Z had said, Hai Xian could tolerate Huangyu and the others breaking off their relationship with her. She didn't care about their little bit of strength at all. But once Yang Dingtian came into contact with them, Hai Xian wouldn't be able to tolerate it and would directly destroy everyone in the Sacred Valley. Therefore, Yang Dingtian couldn't go to see them. He saw this group of rebels struggling to gather trees and dig out roots for food. They were struggling to survive, and they no longer had any strength to resist. Taking a deep breath in the air, Yang Dingtian looked for Huangyu in the crowd. She was wearing coarse clothes and leading a group of young and strong people to build a house, a kind of permanent house. It was as if she was ready to settle down here for the rest of her life. Yang Dingtian suppressed the urge to rush down to meet her and said in his heart, Huangyu, wait for me. Dongli Grassland, wait for me. When Yang Dingtian was strong enough, he would return to Dongli Grassland. At that time, Queen Hai Exan would die and Queen Poisa would be resurrected. There were still 5 days before the appointed time with Yao Li. It was more than enough. In the next 5 days, Yang Dingtian would have to deal with Yao Li wholeheartedly. No matter what, he couldn't let Yao Li take Yao Rao and Yang Yi away. Yang Dingtian met up with Demon Eagle King Aja in the south of Dongli grassland. Then, he rode Aja back to Cloud Sky City at a speed of 2,000 miles per hour. 8 hours later, Yang Dingtian entered the sky above the northwest continent. At this time, he saw groups of winged cavalry from the Council of Light flying toward the sea in the west. On the sea, the ships of the Northwest Qin City fleet were densely packed. They left the port and sailed toward the sea in the west. Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. What happened? There was actually such a big military operation. He didn't come down to ask. Instead, he continued to fly back to Cloud Sky City at a height of more than 10,000 meters. Along the way, Yang Dingtian saw countless winged cavalry. There were at least tens of thousands of them. They were constantly rising from the Northwest Qin City and flying toward the west. It wasn't just the Northwest Qin City. There were also winged cavalry from Cloud Sky City. Even the winged cavalry from the World Society in the north were constantly flying toward the sea in the west. Something must have happened. Something big must have happened. Otherwise, the Northwest Qin City fleet wouldn't have made such a big move. The Qin City fleet was specialized in defending against the Snake People Empire. Normally, they wouldn't be deployed. Now they were almost out in full force. Along the way, Yang Dingtian saw close to 100,000 winged cavalry. What he didn't see was that the Council of Light's air force in the west continent was almost out in full force. They were all flying toward the sea in the west, as if they were searching for something. Something must have happened. Something big must have happened. Yang Dingtian desperately flew in the direction of Cloud Sky City. As soon as he entered the sky above Cloud Sky City, his master, Dongfang Minmi, came to greet him. At this time, almost all the Grandmaster experts of the Council of Light were out in full force in the sky above Cloud Sky City. There were more than 10 top experts floating in the sky above Cloud Sky City, guarding in every direction. Master, what happened? Yang Dingtian asked. You have to be mentally prepared, Dongfang Minmi said solemnly. Yang Dingtian nodded vigorously. Yao Rao and Yang Yi were captured. Your master's wife was seriously injured, Dongfang Minmi said. At that time, there were almost no experts in the entire Cloud Sky City. Your master's wife had the highest cultivation. Also, almost all the winged cavalry warriors in Cloud Sky Castle were killed. Boom! In an instant, Yang Dingtian's brain almost exploded. Endless fury, towering fury, almost surged out of him. All of the blood rushed to his brain, as if it was going to explode his blood vessels. Yao Li, shameless Yao Li, you clearly said that you would give me 10 days. Now there are only 5 days left. You actually took advantage of my absence to do this. Extremely shameless. Extremely vicious and evil. And Yao Rao actually regarded you as a brother. She even trusted you so much. Yao Li, you deserve to die 10,000 times for your crimes. Yao Li, I will definitely tear you to pieces, tear you to pieces. Yang Dingtian said word by word, gnashing his teeth. Dongfang Minmi said with a complicated expression. No, little Tian. It wasn't him. Yang Dingtian was stunned. Dongfang Minmi said. He is already dying. He is desperately hanging on to his last breath to see you one last time. It was Little Western Paradise who came and took Yao Rao and Yang Yi away. At that time, we were all not there. If Yao Li didn't save them, your master's wife would also be dead. Even the entire Cloud Sky City would be finished. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian was completely stunned. His heart was completely shaken. That almost pathological racist almost sacrificed his own life in order to save Yao Rao and Yang Yi. In order to save his master's wife? Yang Dingtian immediately rushed into the valley of Cloud Sky City. Dongfang Minmi hurriedly chased after him. Where is master's wife? Yang Dingtian asked anxiously. No, let's go and see Yao Li first. He can die at any time, Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian saw Yao Li. At this time, he was no longer as handsome as before. His whole person was like a completely torn toy. There were countless wounds all over his body. All of the wounds were blue in color. Moreover, there was not a single trace of blood on the wounds all over his body. His incomparably handsome face had almost turned into a lump of charcoal. Only his 2 eyes were still visible. Yang Dingtian's heart shook violently. Tears almost gushed out of his eyes. This person whom he viewed as an enemy, whom he schemed against, was now living a life worse than death in order to save his wife. This racist, who he scolded as a retard, used his own way to express his pride. Yang Dingtian immediately took out one of the few holy water pills he had, and was about to feed it to him. However, he realized that he no longer had a mouth. Who was so cruel? How could he be so cruel to his own kind? No need. You monkeys' pills are useless to us noble silver dragon bloodline bearers. Yao Li's voice, to be precise, directly sounded in Yang Dingtian's mind. Even at this point he still kept on calling them monkeys. However, when Yang Dingtian heard it, he only felt his eyes burning. My body is already dead. My soul is also about to die. I only left a little bit of consciousness, so I can still communicate with you. Yao Li said. As a man, it is the greatest shame to not be able to protect your own woman. Many years ago, I was unable to protect Yao Rao and let her leave Little Western Paradise. Now, I am still unable to protect her and let her fall into the hands of the devil. I am not qualified to be called a man. Yang Dingtian clenched his teeth desperately. If this person in front of him could not be called a man, then no one in this world could be called a man. Although I look down on you monkeys, but I can't find another person to entrust her to. Yao Li said. So, the responsibility of protecting the mother and child will be yours. You have to go to Little Western Paradise and save Yao Rao and that child. Since I am dead then let her remarry to you. Although you are only a human monkey, but it is still better than the devil. Who is it? Who is the devil? Yang Dingtian asked. Yao Qi. Yao Li said. This despicable usurper, this sinister and vicious schemer, this schemer who is trying to dominate the entire Little Western Paradise. Your son is the only successful descendant of the demagogue clan. He will definitely marry Yao Rao and force her to become Yang Yi's father. Then, he will take the opportunity to rule the world and end the Tribal Alliance Conference in Little Western Paradise. How is his cultivation? Yang Dingtian asked. No, Yao Li said sternly. Don't think about defeating him directly. You are only a human monkey. It is impossible. You have to use schemes. Moreover, he is trying to obtain the Void Fire, so that he can jump into the Naga Empire. He wants to monopolize the ruins and treasures of the entire Naga Empire. Then, Yao Li said coldly, next you must remember everything that I am going to say. Do not miss a single word. Yang Dingtian nodded vigorously. Yao Li said, because we in Little Western Paradise have the bloodline of the fallen silver dragon, we can reincarnate again after death. Our soul imprints can be truly reincarnated and reincarnated again. However, we can also choose not to reincarnate and turn into a silver dragon blood crystal. After that, I won't reincarnate anymore. This silver dragon blood crystal is for you. After you swallow it, as long as you conceal it, you will possess the characteristics of a silver dragon bloodline possessor. Then, you can sneak into the Little Western Paradise and wait for an opportunity to save Yao Rao and kill Yao Qi. How do I kill him? Yang Dingtian asked. Void fire, use void fire. My time is up. Yao Li said with a trembling voice. Think of a way to swallow my silver dragon blood crystal. Then, Yao Li died completely. His entire body gradually shrunk into a small charred fox. Then, a silver energy crystal slowly floated up from his body. This was the bloodline that the fallen silver dragon had left for Little Western Paradise. It was the energy source of all the races in Little Western Paradise. Yao Li, the racist who looked down on humans the most, did not choose to reincarnate. He completely gave up on his life and gave the silver dragon blood crystal to Yang Dingtian, who he hated the most. Happy New Year, everyone. Chapter 736. After taking a closer look, Yang Dingtian realized that this so-called silver dragon blood crystal was not a crystal, but a wriggling body of energy. To be precise, this should be the silver dragon's bloodline. After the fallen silver dragon seduced the Silver Fox clan, a new and powerful fox clan was born. They dominated the entire Little Western Paradise. Therefore, the new fox clan was also known as the Silver Dragon's bloodline. No matter if it was a female or a male, all of their powerful energy came from this silver dragon blood crystal. This was the bloodline that the fallen silver dragon bestowed upon the fox clan. Yang Dingtian floated this body of energy in his palm. He wanted to take a closer look at it. However, he could not do it at all. This was because it was really small. It was almost the same size as the dark crystal in Yin Yan's body. Although it looked like it was about half an inch long, it was actually just the light that it emitted. Its body was alive, and it was so small that it could not be seen clearly with the naked eye. Yang Dingtian carefully placed it in the energy box. At this moment, Yao Li had turned into a fox corpse. After losing this silver dragon blood crystal, he had completely returned to his original state. "Don't worry, I will definitely fulfill your request," Yang Dingtian said. Subsequently, he reached out to carry its corpse. However, as soon as his hand touched it, the corpse turned into a pile of ashes. Yang Dingtian went to find a box and carefully placed Yao Li's ashes in it. He was going to bring it back to his hometown in the Little Western Paradise to bury it. Then, Yang Dingtian went to visit Masteress. Master's wife's injuries were rather frightening and severe. But after Yang Dingtian gave her a holy water elixir, it wasn't a big problem anymore. She said that a total of 3 people came to the Little Western Paradise this time. There was Yao Qi and his 2 subordinates. Masteress said that his 2 subordinates were not from the Fox clan. Moreover, they did not have human forms. They should be beasts from the Little Western Paradise. Yao Li was killed by Yao Qi with his own hands. She said that only a single palm strike was truly fatal. Yao Qi's final fatal palm strike destroyed Yao Li's entire body. He almost instantly turned into a dried corpse. As for Master's wife, she was injured by one of his demonic beasts. This demonic beast could fly. It floated in midair. Its entire body was that of a snake, but it had a human-like face. Of course, it was not the Naga tribe. The entire upper body of the Naga race was human, and they were very beautiful. They had a complete human head. As for the demonic beast that had injured Mistress, its entire body was that of a snake. It was only 4 to 5 feet long, and had no limbs. It only had a human face on its head, which was less than the size of a fist. It was extremely strange and disgusting. "Mistress, were the children frightened?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Don't worry, there isn't," Mistress said. "When that demon from Little Western Paradise came, Yao Li and I immediately sensed it and rushed out to stop it. At that time, the winged cavalry of Cloud Sky City was trying to stop them from entering. In the end, hundreds of winged cavalry patrols were all killed. After that human-faced snake injured me, Yao Li stepped in to save me and pushed me back into the valley. Then he negotiated with Yao Qi. He said that he had promised you that he would give you 10 days. Now there were still more than 5 days left. Therefore, he had to keep his promise. He had to wait for the 10 days to be up before taking Yao Rao and the children away by force. Yao Qi naturally would not allow it, so the 2 of them started fighting. Mistress took a deep breath and said, although Yao Li was very powerful, he was far from being Yao Qi's match. He was defeated immediately. Yao Rao could not bear to see him killed, so she appeared alone. She said that she could follow Yao Qi back to Little Western Paradise, but she asked Yao Qi not to kill anyone. Yao Li felt that he could not protect Yao Rao, so he was furious. Therefore, he rushed forward to die together with Yao Qi. Yao Qi's fatal palm strike killed Yao Li. Even though Master's wife had tried her best to speak in a calm tone, Yang Dingtian still felt a wave of fear. Actually, Yao Li could not die. Moreover, even if he died, it would not change the fact that Yao Rao was captured. However, he would rather die to protect his pride as a man. Mistress continued. Yao Rao originally planned to go back to Little Western Paradise with that demon Yao Qi, and leave baby Yang Yi behind. In the end, Yao Qi said that he wanted Yang Yi. If she did not hand him over to him, he would slaughter the entire Cloud Sky City. In order to protect Cloud Sky City, Yao Rao had no choice but to take the children and leave with that demon. Yang Dingtian tried his best to suppress the anger and pain in his heart. He said, "Before Yao Rao left, did she say anything?" Mistress said, "She said that you should trust her and trust Yang Yi. Before you break through to the saint level, you must not go to Little Western Paradise to look for her." Yao Rao's last words were for Yang Dingtian not to go to Little Western Paradise to look for her, because she was afraid that Yang Dingtian would die. Father-in-law. In the valley, Yang Dingtian saw Duge Xiao, who was carrying Yang Li. At this moment, Duge Xiao's face was pale and filled with fear. He hugged Yang Li tightly in his arms, afraid that if he let go, his grandson would be hurt. Yang Li kept crying and shouting for his brother Yang Yi. When Yang Yi was at home, he was worried that Yang Yi would steal his attention and love, so he often bullied Yang Yi. However, after Yao Rao left with Yang Yi, he kept crying and shouting for Yang Yi. When Yang Qin saw her brother crying, she also cried. At this moment, the younger Yang Yichen seemed more mature. He quietly stood beside Yang Li and Yang Qin. Although he could not say anything comforting, he kept saying, "Don't cry, don't cry. Godfather will definitely bring brother Yang Yi back." Little Ningning began to practice his sword like crazy. He wanted to become stronger quickly, so that he could protect his brother and sister, his mother and aunts, and even his grandmother. Cloud Sky City was originally the safest place in the world. Duge Xiao said, "Other than Walingzi, who suddenly lost his mind, no one would attack the people of Cloud Sky City. In the end, it was the demon fox from Little Western Paradise who broke this rule." Yang Dingtian said, "We have a tacit understanding with the forces of the entire chaotic world. However, those creatures in Little Western Paradise completely treat humans as monkeys. They don't care about this tacit understanding at all." "You want to go to Little Western Paradise?" Duge Xiao asked. Yang Dingtian said, "Yes, father-in-law." Duge Xiao said, "But with your cultivation level, I'm afraid it's too dangerous to go to Little Western Paradise. Even Princess Mudan can't enter Little Western Paradise. She still needs the guidance of the demon fox race." Yang Dingtian said, "Yao Li gave up on reincarnation and gave his energy source, the silver dragon blood crystal, to me. As long as I swallow this silver dragon blood crystal, I'll be equivalent to a silver dragon bloodline holder. I should be able to freely enter Little Western Paradise." "Silver dragon blood crystal?" Duge Xiao frowned. "Are you sure you want to swallow this thing? First of all, you might not be able to swallow it. This is the bloodline that the fallen silver dragon bestowed to the demon fox race, not to humans. Secondly, with your current bloodline, you can let the demon fox race give birth to offspring. You can also give birth to the Naga race. Once the silver dragon bloodline enters your body, we can't guarantee what will happen." Yang Dingtian suddenly fell silent. That's right, it was true. Firstly, whether he could swallow it or not was one thing. Secondly, after swallowing it, would it change Yang Dingtian's bloodline? This was the most important thing. Yang Dingtian said, "Father-in-law, but I have no other choice. Mudan and Dongli have also gone to Little Western Paradise. They are determined to obtain the spatial rending flame. I don't know the reason, but it's definitely not just for a heaven and earth mystic flame." Duge Xiao instantly became awkward, because when it came to matters involving the evil ways, it was not easy for him to speak. Dongfang Minmi said, "Little Tian, 200 years ago, when Tian successfully swallowed the spatial rending flame, that was why part of his soul was able to escape and didn't completely turn into ashes. The spatial rending flame's use is to jump through space." Yang Dingtian only knew that after Dongli obtained the spatial rending flame, he would create the darkness mystic flame, which could make Queen Hai Xian go into heat. Evil ways were determined to obtain the spatial rending flame. As for other reasons, such as wanting to jump into the ruins of the Naga Empire, he didn't know. He didn't even know if it was the key to reviving the demon king Wentian. But no matter which of these reasons it was, Yang Dingtian had to go to Little Western Paradise. He didn't even care about the consequences of swallowing the silver dragon blood crystal. Father-in-law, the safety of Cloud Sky City may be in your hands now, Yang Dingtian said. Duge Xiao had a complicated expression and said, my peaceful days won't be long now, but before the great changes come, I will protect Cloud Sky City and my precious grandson. Yang Dingtian hesitated for a moment and said, Father-in-law, tell me the truth. Is Yin Zhenu Fengwu? Or did you send Fengwu? Duge Xiao was silent for a moment and said, Little Tian, I can only say that I don't know. At that time, in order to let Fengwu completely get rid of the evil ways, I sent her to Mi Nun. After that, I don't know what Mi Nun turned Fengwu into, because she was strong enough, and she was an outsider. Also, she often taught Fengwu martial arts before. Then, Duge Xiao said helplessly, of course, I couldn't imagine that she would become the ambitious Queen Hai Xian. Who would have thought that the Saintess Hai Xian I saw at that time was really like a fairy? Yang Dingtian said. Then, Yang Dingtian looked at Dongfang Minmi and the others and said, Master, now is the most critical time to reorganize the central continent. You and the seniors should return to Zhongjing tomorrow. Next, the central continent, and even the chaotic world's overall situation will be handed over to you. Yes. Dongfang Minmi and Qin Wanqiu bowed and said. Then Dongfang Minmi said, Little Tian, how should we deal with Wu Yuming? Will he and his forces rise from the ashes? Don't worry, they won't. Yang Dingtian said. Wu Yuming didn't die. We even met him in the Dongli grassland. In short, the situation is very complicated. But for a long time, we don't have to worry about Wu Yuming. Now, the Evil Ways forces are Mu Dan and Dongli, and both of them have gone to the Little Western Paradise. The Devil Queen and Li Ming must be busy reviving the Demon King. So in the following time, our Council of Light has no enemies in the entire chaotic world. What about the Vulture Palace and the Netherworld Sea? Dongfang Minmi asked. The Netherworld Sea seems to have put a lot of power in the Little Western Paradise. Yang Dingtian said. So the next changes will all be in the Little Western Paradise, or the Void Border. In the Vulture Palace, Walingzi is greedy and afraid of death, so he won't take the initiative to cause trouble. So in the following time, the Council of Light has to put all its forces in the central continent and vigorously build the elite forces directly under the Council of Light. Especially those few secret weapons and special crystals, the more the better. When the Doomsday War starts, there won't be time for us to build and develop. Speaking of the Doomsday War, Duge Xiao's expression was complicated. He carried Yang Li and walked out, taking the initiative to avoid suspicion. In the next few days, Yang Dingtian stayed in Cloud Sky City with his wife and child. When Wu Maji returned to Zhongjing with the baby, she heard that something had happened in Cloud Sky City. She had never stepped into Cloud Sky City, but at this moment, she immediately took the baby and entered Cloud Sky City with Qin Ji, under the protection of Dishi Bian. Thus Yang Dingtian saw the twins again. The boy was indeed becoming more and more like Yang Dingtian, but he was much more clingy than Yang Dingtian when he was young. And this girl was really shockingly beautiful. Not only Yang Dingtian, but everyone who had seen her said that they had never seen such a beautiful doll. She really looked like a doll. And like Wu Maji, she had a pair of watery blue eyes like sapphires. Originally, Yang Li was sad because of Yang Yi's departure. Now that he had a younger brother and a younger sister, he smiled again. Moreover, his little head was also reflecting. Did the enchanting ant take Yang Yi away because he often bullied him? So he decided to treat this new brother and sister well. In the future, when Yang Yi came back, he would also treat Yang Yi well. Wu Maji integrated into Yinyan's big family much easier than Yang Dingtian had imagined. Hence, Yang Dingtian spent a period of blissful but sad days in Cloud Heaven City. A few days later, while his wives were worried and reluctant to leave, and he promised Yang Li, Yang Qin, and Ningning 100 times, he reluctantly and anxiously rode on the Demon Vulture King and went to the Little Western Paradise. He turned his head and looked at the peaceful and happy valley. Little Ningning, Yang Li, Yang Yichen, Yang Qin, I will definitely bring your brother Yang Yi back. I will bring your enchanting aunt back. Yang Dingtian made the 101st promise in his heart. Then, the demon vulture king flew towards the taboo continent sea area at a speed of 2,000 miles per hour. Because the entrance to the Little Western Paradise was also in that wonderful skull hall. In less than 20 hours, Yang Dingtian arrived in the sky above the taboo continent sea area. A few hundred miles ahead was the seal of the Netherworld Sea. At this time, a total of 10 experts from the Netherworld Sea were firmly guarding the entrance to the taboo continent sea area. Yang Dingtian gently patted the demon vulture king Azao and said, "You go back first. I will be back in at least 1 or 2 months." The demon vulture king Azao rubbed Yang Dingtian's face affectionately. Yang Dingtian jumped up from the back of the demon vulture king, then used the invisibility mystic skill, and instantly disappeared into the air. Then, using the demon spirit mist cloak, he teleported dozens of miles. Just like that, he kept teleporting, and it was teleportation while being invisible. The Netherworld Sea's originally tight seal suddenly became a joke. Yang Dingtian easily broke through and directly entered the taboo continent sea area. Even the Grandmaster experts of the Netherworld Sea did not notice at all. After entering the taboo continent sea area, Yang Dingtian really wanted to know when he started to enter the taboo continent's illusion. However, he still unknowingly entered the illusion directly. From reality to illusion, there was almost no buffer and no boundary. Almost suddenly, heaven and earth were reversed, and he entered the anti-gravity taboo continent's illusion. Below was the sky, and above was the land. Yang Dingtian kept flying up, and then finally landed completely, and entered the taboo continent's illusion. But after landing, Yang Dingtian was instantly stunned, because he did not enter the first world of the taboo continent, but directly entered the sixth world. It was equivalent to the Jurassic world of the Chaos continent. The last time Yang Dingtian left the taboo continent, it just happened to enter the sixth world. Could it be that this thing could still remember the file? But thinking about it, it was normal. This was a spiritual illusion, and it was normal to have a memory function. This sixth world of the Chaos world might be the most mysterious and beautiful era. At this time, the Chaos world had many plants and animals that could not be seen in reality, especially the incomparably astonishing prehistoric monsters. Although they were mysterious and beautiful, they were also dangerous enough, and extremely dangerous. Sure enough, as soon as Yang Dingtian landed in this world, he immediately heard the roar of the prehistoric behemoth, and then a terrifying giant shadow suddenly rushed out of the sea. Although it was an illusion, it seemed almost 100% real. Although Yang Dingtian was very curious about this sixth world, he did not have the time to explore it now, nor did he have the mood to explore it. Before he had completely fallen into the sea area, Yang Dingtian suddenly spewed out the mystic fire, and directly rushed into the void world in front of him. Then, the void world moved quickly, moving at a speed of 2,000 miles per hour. The rapid movement of the void world meant that the passage of time in the chaos world was irreversible. Yang Dingtian used the mystic fire to push his speed to the limit, moving in the opposite direction of the void world, and the speed exceeded 2,000 miles per hour. In this way, it was equivalent to the reversal of time. Immediately, the law of the spiritual illusion of the entire taboo continent was broken. Therefore, as expected, Yang Dingtian directly left the taboo continent's illusion, woke up from the illusion, and then directly appeared in this familiar hall, the Hall of Human Heads. Within the hall of thousands of square meters, it was still empty, and there was no one. There were still 4 familiar and huge doors, and the silver door in front of him led to the Little Western Paradise. It was time to devour the silver dragon blood crystal. Yang Dingtian took out the silver dragon blood crystal, and took a deep breath. Only by devouring this thing could he open the door to the Little Western Paradise. However, only God knew what would happen after devouring the fallen silver dragon's bloodline. Chapter 738. Yang Dingtian held the silver dragon blood crystal in front of his eyes, desperately trying to see what this thing was. However, he really couldn't see it clearly. It was too small. He could only see a ball of light. Although Yang Dingtian was already a great grandmaster, he couldn't turn his eyes into a microscope. Then, how should he swallow this thing? First, he had to figure out whether this thing entered his bloodline or his sea of qi. If it entered his bloodline, he could just eat it directly. If it entered his sea of qi, he had to go through the mystic breathing technique. However, this thing seemed to be an energy body, but it also seemed to have a substance. Even if Yang Dingtian wanted to use the mystic breathing technique, it seemed that he couldn't absorb it. Then, just like the dark crystal, he had to swallow it. Yang Dingtian didn't say anything and swallowed it directly. Wasn't it just the fallen silver dragon bloodline energy? What was the big deal? This thing was even smaller than dust. After swallowing it, he had to use water and qi to absorb it. Finally, he looked in the mirror and confirmed that it was no longer in his mouth. He had swallowed it. After swallowing it, Yang Dingtian sat cross-legged in the hall and closed his eyes, waiting for the reaction. However, there didn't seem to be any reaction. First of all, he didn't become stronger. Second, his body didn't change much. He didn't change his bloodline to the silver dragon bloodline. Also, a foxtail didn't grow out of his butt. Yang Dingtian knew that a few hundred-years-old demon fox could already transform into a human form. However, the time was shorter, and a tail grew out. The longer he cultivated, the longer he would be able to maintain his human form. However, there was still a limit. For example, before Yao Rao was pregnant, she was still suppressed by the energy array. Otherwise, it would be very easy for her to transform into a fox. As for whether she would show her tail or not, it depended on the situation. For example, if she played crazily with Yang Dingtian in bed, her tail would grow out. Sometimes, to add to the fun, her tail would also grow out. However, most of the time, her tail could still disappear. Yao Li's cultivation was obviously much higher. Therefore, even if she left the Little Western Paradise, she could still transform into a human form all year round, and there was no trace of her tail. Of course, even if the silver dragon blood crystal worked, it was impossible for Yang Dingtian to grow a tail. This was because the silver dragon blood crystal had nothing to do with the Fox Demon clan. It was just the silver dragon's bloodline energy. However, it wouldn't do if there was no reaction at all. Could it be that the silver dragon bloodline was only effective on the Fox Demon clan and had no effect on humans? Actually, the possibility of this happening was very high. Otherwise, no matter if it was the fallen black dragon or the fallen silver dragon, why didn't they seduce humans? Instead, they seduced sea snakes, mermaids, or demon foxes. However, if this thing didn't work, how could Yang Dingtian enter the Little Western Paradise? It was at this moment that Yang Dingtian's qi suddenly turned upside down. Then, the black-green mystic fire that was hiding in the depths of the sea of qi suddenly shot out a flame. With a swoosh, it drilled out of the sea of qi and directly swept away the silver dragon blood crystal. Judging from his thirst, it seemed to be even crazier than when he saw the dark crystal. Just like that, the silver dragon blood crystal was violently swept into the sea of qi. Yang Dingtian immediately woke up Queen Poisa. Then he wrapped her consciousness with pure celestial qi of no attributes and drilled into the sea of qi to see the whole process clearly. Instantly, Yang Dingtian was stunned. He saw the black-green mystic fire tear open the outer energy, wrapping around the silver dragon blood crystal, revealing its true appearance. The sea of qi seemed to be a world of its own. Therefore, the silver dragon blood crystal, which was originally smaller than a speck of dust, suddenly became a few inches large in the sea of qi. After seeing its appearance clearly, Yang Dingtian was stunned. It was really a silver dragon. It was extremely ferocious and powerful. The silver dragon swam wildly in the sea of qi. It opened its mouth and was about to swallow everything in the sea of qi. It waved its claws and was about to tear everything in the sea of qi. However, the black-green mystic fire wrapped around it and pulled it into the depths of the sea of qi. In the depths of the sea of qi, there was a black-green dragon that was a few hundred feet long. It was opening its mouth and waiting to swallow. This black-green dragon was Yang Dingtian's darkness mystic fire? After swallowing the deep-sea mystic poison, it became like this? What exactly was it? If the silver dragon looked ferocious and powerful, then in front of this black-green dragon, it looked cute. This black-green fire dragon gave people a feeling that it was going to swallow the whole world and destroy the whole world. That kind of extremely dangerous and powerful aura made people shudder at a glance. Whoosh! The black-green fire dragon swallowed the silver dragon into its stomach. After swallowing, the dragon's eyes suddenly shot out 2 rays of silver light. As if it was extremely comfortable, its entire huge body was twitching. It seemed that after eating the fallen silver dragon's blood crystal, it was extremely comfortable. So much so that Yang Dingtian's entire chi vessel world was trembling with all his might. Finally, the dragon was done with its pleasure. Then, the incomparably ferocious and terrifying dragon suddenly stuck out its tongue at Yang Dingtian's divine sense and made a face. Yang Dingtian was stunned, and so was Queen Poisa. This feeling was too strange. An incomparably ferocious and powerful dragon made a face and acted cute. After swallowing the silver dragon's blood crystal, the black-green fire dragon in the depths of the sea of Qi quickly went dormant and became a quiet black-green flame again, as if it was harmless to humans and animals. However, at this time, this black-green flame seemed to have gone deep into a thin silver wire. Its tentacles were still working, and it tore the energy light shell left behind by the silver dragon's blood crystal. In an instant, it tore into countless energy powder, filling Yang Dingtian's sea of Qi. Then it ignited it with the mystic fire. Boom! Suddenly, this pile of energy exploded in Yang Dingtian's sea of Qi. Yang Dingtian's sea of Qi quickly swelled to the extreme. Boom! Then his entire body sank into nothingness. Just like that, very suddenly, Yang Dingtian ushered in another breakthrough. He was really not mentally prepared at all. In almost a moment, he directly broke through from a 6-star level 1 Great Grandmaster to a 7-star Great Grandmaster. Then the Sea of Qi continued to swell, expand and tremble slightly. 7-star level 1, 7-star level 2, 7-star level 3, 7-star level 9. Finally, he became a 7-star level 9 Great Grandmaster. When he was about to break through to an 8-star Great Grandmaster, he was finally unable to continue. However, this was already an absolute surprise. A small energy shell actually allowed Yang Dingtian to break through by almost 2 stars. Yang Dingtian understood that the so-called silver dragon's blood crystal was enveloped by a layer of powerful and pure energy, so it was useless to eat it directly. If not for the black-green mystic fire, Yang Dingtian would not be able to swallow this thing at all. Moreover, once this energy protective layer was torn apart, there would be an extremely small fallen silver dragon inside. It was extremely ferocious and powerful. If he allowed it to stay in the Sea of Qi, Yang Dingtian would probably be smashed into pieces in a moment and die without a complete corpse. Now the silver dragon's blood crystal belonged to the black-green mystic fire. The outer energy shell belonged to Yang Dingtian. Why did it feel like they were splitting the spoils? However, Yang Dingtian really wanted to know what his darkness mystic fire was now. It was originally a good darkness mystic fire. After swallowing the demon spirit demonic fire, it was just a powerful darkness mystic fire. However, after swallowing the deep sea mystic poison, it turned into a black-green color. After swallowing a huge darkness crystal, it actually turned into a dragon. Now not only did it eat the darkness crystal, but it also ate the fallen silver dragon. What would it look like in the future? However, he could not care about this for the time being. It was more important to enter the Little Western Paradise first. However, the silver dragon blood crystal had already been swallowed by the black-green mystic fire. Then could he still enter the Little Western Paradise? Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian came to the front of the silver door and reached out his hand to push it gently. Such a huge door was actually pushed open with no effort at all. Then, the scenery outside came rushing at his face. What was the scenery outside? It was not as shocking as Yang Dingtian imagined at all. Instead, it was similar. It was almost exactly the same as the scene when Yang Dingtian left this hall last time. It was the feeling of a bunch of void illusions. It was a bizarre void. There were also countless figures shuttling back and forth in the void. Yang Dingtian took a step forward. Whoosh! It was as if a huge centrifugal force suddenly threw Yang Dingtian outside. Almost instantly, Yang Dingtian lost all consciousness and fainted directly. When Yang Dingtian woke up, he was already floating on the vast sea. This was the little Western paradise. But it looked like there was no difference from the chaotic world. There were still two suns in the sky. The surrounding was still the boundless sea, as if it was similar to the forbidden continent sea area in the chaotic world. Yang Dingtian gently flew away from the sea surface and floated directly in the air. However, where should he fly to? All he could see here was the vast sea. After a little hesitation, Yang Dingtian decided to go east. Referring to the two suns in the sky, Yang Dingtian operated the flying mystic skill. He flew towards the east. On the sea surface along the way, he did not see any ships. It was always the vast sea. Just when Yang Dingtian thought that he did not know how long it would take to fly, the entire sea trip ended unexpectedly. The little Western paradise rushed into his eyes. Then, Yang Dingtian was really stunned by the beautiful scenery in front of him. Damn! This was the little Western paradise. God was too biased. He actually gave such a beautiful scenery to the little Western paradise. In front of him were countless mountains. Incomparably beautiful mountains, smoke drifted. Waterfalls were like whiskers. Every mountain was like a fairyland. This was not the most important thing. The most important thing was, these mountains were all floating in the air. That's right, the entire little Western paradise was floating in the air, and below was the vast sea. Chapter 739. Not only were there endless mountains floating in the sky, there was even a huge continent floating in the sky in the distance. Yang Dingtian had no idea what was going on. Countless mountains, and an entire continent floating in the sky. What was going on? This was not the Avatar's Pandora. Moreover, in Pandora, only a portion of the special mountains were floating in the sky. Most of the mountains and continents were still on the surface of the planet. And here, the entire little Western paradise seemed to be floating in the sky. Yang Dingtian immediately flew towards the nearest mountain. He wanted to go to Yao Li and Yao Rao's tribe first. Yang Dingtian knew the name of Yao Rao's tribe. It was called the Shadow Spear tribe. However, Yang Dingtian did not know the exact location. As for which tribe Yao Li belonged to, Yang Dingtian did not know. However, he had a special jade pendant in his hand that he had always been wearing around his neck. Perhaps it was not a jade pendant. Instead, it looked like solidified blue water that was carved into the shape of a half-fox, half-dragon. Of course, there was a very important question at this moment. That was the language of the demon fox tribe in Little Western Paradise. Yao Rao had taught Yang Dingtian some of the language of Little Western Paradise. However, Yang Dingtian had only spent a short time with his wives. Therefore, the language that he learned from Yao Rao was only bits and pieces. Therefore, after entering Little Western Paradise, he still had to pretend to be mute most of the time. However, Yang Dingtian was able to recognize more and more of the language of Little Western Paradise. This was something that Yao Rao had written long ago. Perhaps she had a premonition that she would not be able to stay in Cloud Sky City for long. She felt that one day, she would be forcefully brought back to Little Western Paradise. Therefore, after giving birth to Yang Darling, she began to write a thick book about the language of the Demon Fox tribe. When she was taken away, she left this book for Yang Dingtian. For the past half a month, Yang Dingtian had been staying in Cloud Sky City. Although it was to enjoy the happiness of family time with his wife and children, it was more to learn the language of Little Western Paradise. Now, he had barely managed to learn the important words and phrases in a hurry. However, when the sentences were connected together, one would have to guess, not to mention speak. After all, Yang Dingtian was not a genius. Therefore, after entering Little Western Paradise, he still had to spend most of his time studying. There was a saying that went, "Looking at a mountain is close to death." The mountain in front of him looked very close, but Yang Dingtian flew for a few hundred miles before he was really close to the huge mountain range. This was a complete mountain range floating in the air. Only when they reached the bottom of the mountain did they realize how huge it was. The entire mountain range stretched for at least 1,000 miles. Young Dingtian slowly landed at the foot of this unknown mountain. The moment he landed, he felt an extremely dense, profound qi. That's right. It was probably several times denser than the chaotic world, and much purer. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt something strange on the top of his head. He felt that the back of his neck and ears were a little itchy. He hurriedly took out a crystal mirror. Then, he was shocked to find that his face had changed. That's right, his face had really changed. His originally black hair had turned silver. His entire face had become a little sharper, and his eyes had become even narrower. Moreover, his ears had become sharp and long. More importantly, there seemed to be a silver mark on his neck, and it felt a little sharp to the touch. Yang Dingtian quickly touched his back, afraid that he would touch a tail. But fortunately there was no tail. Looking at himself in the mirror, Yang Dingtian was really stunned. That's right, he still vaguely looked like Yang Dingtian, but only a little. His entire face had completely changed. What did he look like? Anyway, he didn't look like a demon fox, but more like the elves in the movies on Earth. The skin on his face was snow white, like jade. Well, that was a nice way to put it. The unpleasant way to put it was that Yang Dingtian's face was deathly pale, as white as a whitewashed wall. And it was so delicate that it didn't even have pores. His nose had become very long. His lips had become very thin, especially his eyes. They had become deep and narrow, accompanied by long ears. He did look like the elves in the movies, but in fact he was far from being as natural as the elves. The elves were just a little more beautiful, but they still had a human face. And Yang Dingtian's face was already a little unnatural. You can be considered beautiful, but it was really a little unnatural. It really looked like an alien that was very similar to a human. Yang Dingtian was startled. Even the demon fox race wasn't like this. But this was also good. It also saved him the trouble of changing his appearance. However, he couldn't go back to the chaotic world like this. That Yang Dingtian would collapse. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but give it a try. He flew away from the mountain and returned to the surface of the sea. Fortunately, this strange face gradually degenerated and returned to Yang Dingtian's original appearance. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian let out a long sigh of relief. It seemed that only when he entered the land of the Little Western Paradise, the power of the Silver Dragon bloodline would change his appearance. He flew back to the huge mountain in front of him. Yang Dingtian went deep into the mountain, trying to find a village or tribe. He could also ask someone for directions to the Shadow Spear clan. However, after going deep into the mountain for a few hundred miles, he still couldn't find any village, nor did he see any demon fox race. Instead, he saw many different kinds of demon beasts. Yang Dingtian didn't fly in the air. Instead, he climbed the mountain and waded through the water, walking on his feet. Because only in this way could he truly understand the Little Western Paradise. After walking for a few hundred miles, the sky was dark. Yang Dingtian found a cave and stopped. He took out the book written by Yao Rao and continued to learn the language and writing of the Little Western Paradise. Just as he was learning deeply, he suddenly heard rustling footsteps. Yang Dingtian's ears suddenly stood up. He put the book back into his spatial ring with great vigilance. He held the modified soul sword in his hand, that was close to the emperor grade. A series of soft footsteps came from afar. Yang Dingtian didn't move, nor did he extinguish the bonfire. He just held the sword in his hand, ready to attack at any time. But the strange thing was that Yang Dingtian couldn't sense any energy aura from the other party when the footsteps came closer. Only an expert many times stronger than Yang Dingtian couldn't sense the energy of Yang Dingtian. Suddenly, he felt like he was facing a great enemy. He was ready to hide and escape at any time. This Little Western Paradise was really strange. The first person he met was a top expert. Whoosh whoosh. Two small black figures quickly entered Yang Dingtian's vision. Yang Dingtian was about to use his mystic skill to hide himself. But after seeing clearly, he laughed at himself. He came to a foreign world. He was really paranoid. It turned out that they were two children. They were about 6 or 7 years old. Their faces were covered in dust, and they looked frightened. Because they saw the bonfire, they came over. No wonder he couldn't sense any energy. Yang Dingtian's heart softened. It was a boy and a girl. Although their faces were a little dirty, they looked very cute. They were chubby and had big eyes. "Daddy." The little boy looked at Yang Dingtian's back and called out timidly. His voice sounded like he was about to cry. Maybe these two beautiful children were separated from their parents. Yang Dingtian turned around and smiled warmly at the two children. Then he took out some roasted meat and waved at them. Who knew that when the two children saw Yang Dingtian's face, their eyes would reveal a look of fear. They screamed and instantly turned into two streams of light and turned into two little foxes. They ran into the dark forest in an instant. "Don't be afraid." Yang Dingtian's brain couldn't react in time. He could only call out a few times. But these two children had already run away without a trace. Yang Dingtian was still worried. He rushed out of the cave and looked around. But he didn't see the two children at all. Yang Dingtian frowned. He tried to sense the energy in the surroundings. He wanted to find the two children. Maybe these two playful children got separated from their parents. They were two children of the Demon Fox clan. It seemed that in the little western paradise, very small demon foxes could turn into human form. But at the crucial moment, they would still turn into foxes. At this moment, in the forest far away, a gentle woman's voice sounded. Yang Dingtian couldn't understand her voice, but from her voice, it seemed to be very anxious. A moment later, a beautiful woman with a graceful figure rushed out from the forest. When she saw Yang Dingtian, she was startled. Then, she walked over and asked him anxiously. Her voice was very gentle. Yang Dingtian couldn't understand what she was saying, but he understood the word children. This should be the mother of the two children. She was looking for the two Demon Fox clan children. This woman was very beautiful, and her figure was especially graceful and moving. She had an oval face and looked very gentle and charming. Furthermore, she looked very similar to the little boy from the Foxman race. Yang Dingtian wanted to ask if she had met someone bad, but he didn't know what to say. Seeing her anxious and worried expression, Yang Dingtian quickly pointed at the place where the two Demon Fox clan children disappeared. Thank you, thank you." The woman nodded at Yang Dingtian gratefully. Then, she hurriedly went in the direction where the two Foxman clan children disappeared. Yang Dingtian wanted to chase after her, but this beautiful woman seemed to be wary of Yang Dingtian, so he couldn't help but give up. He hoped that she could quickly find the two children. Next, Yang Dingtian perked up his ears and read in the firelight. As long as he heard anything, he would immediately rush out. However, until dawn, nothing happened. After dawn, Yang Dingtian continued to go deep into the mountains to look for the Foxman clan's village. After walking for about 200 miles, Yang Dingtian suddenly saw a familiar back. It was a graceful figure. It was the beautiful woman from last night. She was hurrying on her way. However, she didn't seem to see the two children. "Hey, hey!" Yang Dingtian shouted from behind. The beautiful woman was shocked and immediately turned around. When she saw Yang Dingtian, her expression relaxed. However, she still looked at Yang Dingtian with caution. After she turned around, Yang Dingtian saw clearly that she had found the two children. They were in her arms. One was a little red fox, and the other was a little white fox. At this moment, the two little foxes were sleeping. They were extremely beautiful and cute. When she found the children, Yang Dingtian was relieved. Then, she pointed at the little foxes in her arms and smiled kindly at the woman. The woman was stunned. Then she smiled back at her. At this moment, Yang Dingtian realized that she was more beautiful in the day than at night. Especially her beautiful cherry lips. Other than her delicate face, there was also a hint of charm. She also smiled at Yang Dingtian, but her expression was still full of vigilance. After her graceful body bowed, she immediately carried the two children and hurriedly walked away from the side path. It was normal for a single woman to be afraid and vigilant when she saw a man in the wild. Yang Dingtian awkwardly stopped in place. He waited until she was far away before he continued on his way. He didn't want to scare her again. After that, Yang Dingtian continued on his way. He didn't see the delicate woman again until evening. In the mountains dozens of miles ahead, he finally saw the shadow of a village. Young Dingtian let out a long sigh of relief. He couldn't help but speed up. After entering a forest, he suddenly heard the sound of dense footsteps in front of him. There was also an old man's heart-wrenching shout. Young Dingtian didn't understand what he was shouting. However, it seemed to be the same as what the woman had shouted last night. He vaguely recognized the names of the two children. It seemed that this group of people was also looking for the two beautiful children. He immediately sped up. Suddenly, he saw dozens of men from the Black Fox tribe. They were holding all kinds of weapons in their hands. They were shouting names as they searched. When they saw Yang Dingtian, they clenched the weapons in their hands tightly. They were full of vigilance. However, when they saw Yang Dingtian's appearance, they relaxed. An old man from the Foxman tribe in the middle immediately ran over and asked Yang Dingtian anxiously. Yang Dingtian didn't understand what he was saying. However, he could vaguely tell that these people were looking for the two children. The old man from the Fox tribe in front of him might be the grandfather of the two children. However, these Black Fox tribe members in front of him were all bloodline warriors. Therefore, their cultivation was quite low. The old man from the Foxman tribe in front of him was at most equivalent to a martial Xian warrior. The old man desperately pulled Yang Dingtian's sleeve and asked if he had seen his grandson and granddaughter. He kept asking, tears running down his face. It seemed that he was about to collapse. Yang Dingtian couldn't say. Therefore, he hurriedly took out a piece of silk and a pen and wrote in the language of the Black Fox tribe. The children's mother has been found. Go home immediately. When the old man saw the words on the silk, he was shocked. Then he wrote on the silk with a pen. The children's mother is dead. That delicate young woman is dead? Yang Dingtian was stunned. How could this be? He just saw it. Then the Foxman tribe carried a corpse over. It looked like the corpse of a female fox. However, all the skin had been peeled off, leaving only bloody flesh. Moreover, the heart and brain matter had been eaten. What? When did she die? Yang Dingtian asked in shock. A few days ago. My son went out and didn't return. My wife was suspicious and went out to look for him. The day before yesterday, the children sneaked out to look for their parents. Yesterday, we found my wife's corpse in the wilderness. She had been eaten to this extent. The old man wrote. Yang Dingtian's expression changed. The young woman was not the children's mother. She was a monster that ate her mother and then turned into her mother. The two demon fox children had fallen into her claws. At this time, they were most likely dead. At this moment, Yang Dingtian felt that the beauty of the little western paradise had disappeared. There was only danger and terror. Yang Dingtian suddenly roared in anger. He actually watched as the two children fell into the hands of a monster. Moreover, he met her today. In the next second, Yang Dingtian suddenly soared into the sky and flew in the direction he came from. In just 15 minutes, he arrived at the place where he saw the monster last time. However, she had already disappeared. She definitely couldn't have run far. However, Yang Dingtian was flying all over the sky. She must have hidden. Yang Dingtian was very unfamiliar with this world. Once she hid, Yang Dingtian really wouldn't be able to find her. Thus, Yang Dingtian used his invisibility mystic skill. He also used the blink technique of the Devil Spirit Mist Cloak to search every inch of the surrounding several hundred miles. More than 2 hours later, in a deep cave, Yang Dingtian indeed found the monster and the two little foxes in the cage. And this monster still had the appearance of a delicate young woman. At this moment, she was naked in front of the mirror. Looking around, she revealed an incomparably charming smile. And in a large pot, a black liquid was boiling, preparing to cook the two little foxes. Wow, what a beautiful appearance. It's a pity that this skin will rot soon, the monster said regretfully in front of the mirror. Then, she looked at the little foxes in the cage and drooled. She said in a delicate voice, "Let's take off these clothes first." Then the monster gently shook. Suddenly, its body suddenly drilled out of the skin. This beautiful skin instantly collapsed to the ground like a balloon without air, turning into a thin layer. It was incomparably strange. But what was even more disgusting was the appearance of this monster. Yang Dingtian had never seen such a disgusting monster. It was a white lump of meat without any shape. It was spread out on the ground and constantly squirming. There were no bones, and it was impossible to tell where the head was and where the body was. However, she had a pair of big, watery eyes and a pair of moving human lips. That's right, if this pair of eyes and mouth were on a human face, it would be very moving. But on this monster, it was incomparably disgusting. Moreover, because this lump of meat was constantly squirming, the two eyes and mouth were also constantly moving. Anyone who saw this appearance would probably vomit immediately. No wonder it could burrow into a complete human skin. Its entire body was made of soft flesh, and it could squeeze into any body. Time to eat, time to eat. Hee hee. Hee hee hee. This lump of meat was constantly squirming, approaching the cage. Change into a human. Change into a human. That way, the meat will be more tender and delicious. I want the skin of these two children. Change into the appearance of children, hee hee. This monster's speech was not very clear, but it was really comparable to Yang Dingtian. When the monster opened its human mouth, Yang Dingtian immediately felt nauseous. Because this mouth was originally small, but after it opened, it became incomparably huge. Moreover, the inside of the mouth was densely packed with suction cups and countless sharp teeth. There were hundreds and thousands of them. This was simply the most disgusting mouth that Yang Dingtian had ever seen. He only saw a mouthful of green smoke coming out of its mouth. Then, the two little foxes in the cage immediately turned into the appearance of human children. Daddy! Daddy! Mommy! Grandpa! Come and save me! Come and save me! The two little foxes desperately shrank into the cage. They kept crying and their small bodies trembled. Taking a deep breath, Yang Dingtian circulated his qi. Then he lowered the temperature of the demon spirit demonic flame to the lowest, the coldest. Whoosh! The extremely low temperature of the demon spirit demonic flame suddenly burst out and blasted toward the monster. In an instant, the monster was instantly frozen. Then, Yang Dingtian condensed the temperature of the million spirit demonic flame to the highest. Boom! The high temperature of the million spirit demonic flame suddenly blasted out. In an instant, the disgusting monster was turned into ashes. Finally, it didn't need to stay in this world to disgust people. After killing the monster, Yang Dingtian directly tore open the cage and carried out the two little foxes. The two little foxes' small bodies trembled violently as they hugged Yang Dingtian tightly. Don't worry, it's okay. Yang Dingtian hugged them tightly and said, I'll bring you back to your grandpa now. This time, Yang Dingtian came to the Little Western Paradise to bring Yaorao and Yang Yi home. Now that he had just entered the Little Western Paradise, he saved two little foxes. This might be a good sign. The two little foxes gradually calmed down in Yang Dingtian's arms and turned back into two little foxes. 2 hours later, Yang Dingtian handed the two little foxes to their grandpa. However, the children's mother and father had been killed by the monster. Yang Dingtian also knew that this monster was called the Faceless Monster. It liked to eat brains and hearts. Then, before the foxes died, it would peel off their skin and crawl into the skin to act as a human. Moreover, Yang Dingtian also found out that the so-called Little Western Paradise was not a place where half-saints and martial grandmasters were as common as dogs. He was a 7-star grade 9 martial grandmaster. In the Little Western Paradise, he was still considered a very powerful expert. At least, in the first small tribe he met, he had never seen an expert like Yang Dingtian. The strongest person in this tribe was only a human martial arts grandmaster. In the Fox Demon clan, most of them had a lower bloodline, and their lifespan was only about 100 years. Moreover, the lower the bloodline, the earlier they would take some kind of spring water to transform into a human. On the other hand, those with higher bloodlines would need to cultivate for a long time before they could transform into a human. Some people with higher bloodlines would even abandon their human forms and forever appear in the form of a fox demon. However, after all the fox demon died, they would turn back into a fox. The children's grandpa thanked him profusely and shed tears of gratitude. Yang Dingtian stayed in his tribe for 3 days. In these 3 days, the furious Yang Dingtian killed all the man-eating monsters in the entire mountain range within a radius of a few hundred miles. In 3 days and 3 nights, he killed thousands of monsters that were harming the tribe. Then, in the reluctance of the entire tribe, he flew toward Yao Rao's family, the Shadow Spear tribe. The Shadow Spear tribe was about 4,000 miles away from here. With a direction and goal, it was easy to do. 3 days later, Yang Dingtian arrived at Yao Rao's family, the Shadow Spear tribe. Chapter 740. The Shadow Spear clan was a big clan. They were one of the 9 members of the Little Western Paradise Alliance's parliament. They ruled over a few hundred tribes. The first tribe that Yang Dingtian met was also ruled by the Shadow Spear clan. However, that tribe was too far away and separated by the vast sky. The people of that tribe could not fly, so they could never reach Shadow Spear City. They also knew very little about the Shadow Spear clan. To be precise, Shadow Spear City was not on a single piece of land, but more than 10 pieces of land. That's right, more than 10 pieces of land of various sizes were floating in the sky. The largest piece of land was at least a few hundred miles. In the middle, more than 10 pieces of land of various sizes surrounded it. There were even suspension bridges connecting the pieces of land of similar size. However, none of the pieces of land on the periphery were connected to the piece of land in the middle. The huge Shadow Spear City was built on these pieces of land and connected by various suspension bridges. This was the first time that Yang Dingtian had seen such a city. It was really an eye-opener. This should be a true sky city. The pieces of land on the periphery should be the slums of Shadow Spear City. Because most of the houses were dilapidated, most of the people walking around were also wearing tattered clothes. And on the piece of land of several hundred miles in the middle, the houses were tall and prosperous. When Yang Dingtian stepped into the slums of Shadow Spear City, he was immediately surrounded. Almost everyone on the road was pointing at him and whispering to each other. He could not help but feel strange. Why was this? Could it be that there was something wrong with his appearance? He pulled someone, wanting to ask Yao Nu where his home was. However, everyone who was pulled by Yang Dingtian seemed to be greatly frightened and quickly ran away without a trace. In short, wherever he went, everyone's eyes followed. However, the moment he got close, those people ran away as if they had seen a ghost. This made Yang Dingtian very puzzled. Hence, Yang Dingtian decided to leave the slums and fly to the piece of land in the middle. Yao Li was the young master of a certain tribe. Yang Dingtian knew that. But whether or not Yao Rao's father is the patriarch of Shadow Spear clan, Yang Dingtian doesn't know. However, it should be very prominent, so it should be in the most prosperous place in the inner city. Yang Dingtian soared into the sky, and after flying for a few dozen miles, he landed on the central continent. Sure enough, even the air felt much better. The surrounding houses were all gorgeous and clean. The roads were paved with flat stones and flowers bloomed on both sides. The cities of the Shadow Spear race were much more artistic than the human cities. There was even a dreamy feeling to them. What surprised Yang Dingtian was that there were not many human faces walking on the road. Most of the Demon Fox clan appeared in the form of a fox, but they walked on 2 legs. Therefore, when Yang Dingtian saw some foxes dressed in gorgeous clothes walking on the road, and even bowing to acquaintances, he really felt a sense of dissonance. However, it was clear that the people living in this city were all from the Sky Fox clan, with a relatively high bloodline. Yang Dingtian's appearance was still surrounded by people here. However, it was already much better. However, almost everyone he met kept a respectful distance from him. Yang Dingtian was certain that there was definitely a problem with his appearance. As for what the problem was, he didn't know. Picking a middle-aged Demon Fox clan with an amiable face, Yang Dingtian stepped forward and asked, "May I ask where Lord Yao Nu's residence is?" The middle-aged Demon Fox clan was slightly stunned. Then, he waved his hand at him and didn't say anything. Yang Dingtian was truly flabbergasted. What exactly was the problem with his image? Why did everyone look at him in such a strange manner? Yang Dingtian endured the astonished gazes and walked towards the inner city. However, he didn't walk a few hundred meters. At the front, There was an orderly troop of buck cavalry that rushed over and surrounded young Dingtian from the front and back. This demon fox clan actually used a buck as a mount. However, this buck looked very dangerous. First of all, its body was very large, and the horns on its head were as hard as iron and extremely sharp. The leader of the cavalry was also a fox. He came in front of young Dingtian and said with a serious expression, "Please come with me." Young Dingtian couldn't help but be stunned. Was he being arrested? Am I being arrested? Young Dingtian tried his best to ask in the most standard Sky Fox clan language. The demon fox leader smiled and waved his hand. Immediately, a gorgeous and sturdy carriage came over. Oh, it was a deer carriage. Please, the demon fox leader said. After hesitating for a moment, young Dingtian boarded the gorgeous deer carriage. Then, the leader sealed the entire deer carriage, so that young Dingtian could not see anything outside. Then, the buck cavalry surrounded young Dingtian's deer carriage and headed towards the inner city. After a full 2 hours, the deer carriage finally stopped. The demon fox leader opened the door and young Dingtian got off the carriage. Then, he almost sucked in a breath of cold air. No wonder Yaoli always looked down on humans. Just by looking at the houses, the demon fox clan was much more beautiful than the human countries. Standing in front of young Dingtian was an incomparably gorgeous palace. Almost every brick had a gorgeous sculpture on it. Every step was painted with gorgeous patterns. Every tree, every flower had been carefully trimmed. An exquisite and beautiful garden, a bustling and artistic palace. Young Dingtian felt that this was a different world. Compared to here, although many of the buildings in the human countries were spectacular, there was a world of difference between beauty and art. Moreover, the palace all used floor-to-ceiling windows. The windows were all made of expensive glass, and beautiful patterns were also painted on them. People who lived in such a palace. No wonder Yaoli kept saying that humans were monkeys and humans were monkeys. However, it was normal. The lifespan of humans was only about 100 years. The demon fox clan, on the other hand, lived for 1,000 years. Naturally, they had a lot of time to spend on art. Humans, on the other hand, spent almost all of their time on martial arts. "Please follow me," the demon fox leader said, and then led the way. Young Dingtian followed him and walked into the gorgeous palace. Stepping on the exquisite steps and passing through a long corridor, he saw countless scrolls and sculptures along the way. Even the carpet under his feet changed because of the different environment. Finally, he entered a huge room with a delicate fragrance. It should be a living room, because there was a row of soft and comfortable chairs, and an exquisite and gorgeous small table. On the walls, there were also all kinds of portraits, but most of them were paintings of people. Young Dingtian noticed that there were 2 men in the center. The man on the left was slightly younger, and not as handsome. He looked a little thin. Moreover, his eyes were deep, as if he could see through people's hearts. Even though he was just a picture scroll, it made people not dare to look at his face. On the other hand, the man on the right was middle-aged and very handsome. He was an extremely rare handsome man. Moreover, the clothes on his body were much more gorgeous. Young Dingtian noticed that the portrait on the left seemed to have been hung up not long ago. Even the paint on the portrait was relatively fresh. It should have been painted not long ago. Then who could this person be? At this moment, there was a burst of graceful footsteps outside. In fact, she did not make any sound when she stepped on the ground, but young Dingtian could hear it. It was a woman, and a woman with very graceful steps. Gently pushing the door open, the woman walked in. Young Dingtian did not turn around, because he could see the woman from the reflection of the glass window. With a glance, young Dingtian's heart shook, and then he was almost stunned. Because this woman looked almost exactly the same as Yao Rao. Of course, it was almost and not completely. She was a little taller than Yao Rao. Her figure was not as exaggerated as Yao Rao. The enchanting devil's figure was almost exaggerated to the extent of being hot. And the woman in front of him, although her figure was also high and low, the curve was gentler, making her look very graceful but not so hot. Therefore, although their faces were very similar, Yao Rao looked very hot. This woman, on the other hand, was elegant and noble. That's right, this was Yao Rao's home. And in front of him, perhaps this was his sister-in-law? Young Dingtian did not let his imagination run wild. But those words still floated into Yang Dingtian's heart instinctively. Half of his sister-in-law's body was brother-in-law's. Immediately, he threw away these distracting thoughts. What Yang Dingtian needed to care about now was whether he had been exposed or not. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental that a group of Buck's cavalry captured him here, and then his sister-in-law appeared in front of him? Ji greets Mr. His sister-in-law stepped forward and bowed slightly, performing a very graceful and moving aristocratic etiquette. Suddenly, the curve of her waist was like rippling spring water. However, Yao Li, Yao Rao, and Yao Qi were all surnamed Yao. Why was his sister-in-law surnamed Ji? Yang Dingtian did not say anything, and only nodded at her. Although she was his sister-in-law, he did not know her position. It was right to speak less. His sister-in-law Jia stepped forward slowly and walked to Yang Dingtian's side. Suddenly, a charming fragrance drifted over. Mister, are you here for the person in the portrait? Jia stretched out her slender hand and pointed at the skinny man on the left. Him? Who is he? Yang Dingtian asked. Jia retracted her hand. Her movement was very elegant and moving. She smiled at Yang Dingtian and said, Mister, don't you know him? The new chairman of the Tribal Alliance's parliament, Mr. Yao Qi. Yang Dingtian's face did not have any expression, but his heart was trembling violently. It turned out that the skinny man was Yao Qi. He was the culprit behind all of this. But why did Yao Rao's family hang his portrait on the wall? And was he exposed or not? He did not understand what his sister-in-law was saying. Yang Dingtian immediately asked, Miss, you had people capture me. Do you know me? Chapter 741. Of course I know you. Jia said. The silent ones, the most intelligent race in the world, all have very special looks. Any noble with some knowledge will recognize you. Yang Dingtian was stunned. Silent ones, what the hell are they? Did he become a silent one because he was not fluent in the fox demon's language? Or did he look like one of the silent ones in the Little Western Paradise? Jia was confused. Sir, you don't know Sir Yao Qi in the portrait? Yang Dingtian shook his head. I've heard of him, but I've never seen him before. He tried very hard to say these few words, but they were still very uneven and very strenuous. Jia said, I think you should be quite fluent in the fox demon's language among the silent ones. What kind of race was there in the silent ones? Was it the race that did not speak? Yang Dingtian looked at Yao Qi's portrait and asked deliberately, Is Yao Qi your elder brother? Jia said, Why do you say so? Yang Dingtian said, His portrait is with your father. Jia said, Because he's the chairman of the tribal council, his portrait will be hung in the palaces of any tribe. Oh, Yang Dingtian replied. He wanted to know what his sister-in-law thought of Yao Qi, and how the Shadow Spear clan felt about Yao Qi marrying Yao Rao. After all, if Yang Dingtian wanted to save Yao Rao and Yang Yi, the Shadow Spear clan was a natural ally. Yang Dingtian pointed at Yao Qi's portrait and asked, What about him? Jia said, He's the most outstanding man in the Western Paradise, the most outstanding leader of the fox demon's race. He's the youngest chairman in the past few thousand years. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be startled. This chairman was actually elected? It seemed that the Little Western Paradise was playing a high-level game. They were electing, but he did not know how long the chairman's term would be. But there was also a bad news. This sister-in-law seemed to admire Yao Qi a lot. In her eyes, Yao Qi was an outstanding leader for Ge. She was very proud to have such a brother-in-law. If she became Yao Qi's sister-in-law, it would be very bad. At the very least, there was no doubt that this sister-in-law in front of her could not become Yang Dingtian's ally. Yang Dingtian immediately said, Why did you ask someone to bring me here? Nothing, I'm leaving. With great difficulty and missing a few words, Yang Dingtian painfully finished the sentence. Jia hurriedly said, Please wait, mister. Perhaps it's rude of me to invite you here without permission, but if Jia doesn't do so, mister will be snatched away by someone else. Yang Dingtian was taken aback. It seemed like the silent tribe was quite popular. As the wise man of the world, the Silent One does not like the prosperity of the world. He would rather seclude himself from the world and cultivate. He rarely appears in the world. Jia said, "Just now, I saw you looking at the portrait of Chairman Yao Qi. I thought you were walking in the world for him, so I said what I said just now." This sentence was too long. Young Dingtian only understood a few words. He immediately frowned in pain. Jia hurriedly took out a piece of paper and wrote this sentence on it. Finally, Yang Dingtian roughly understood what it meant. It seemed that this Silent One was equivalent to someone from the Little Western Paradise. A secluded person? Possessing extraordinary wisdom? Yang Dingtian picked up the brush and wrote on the white paper. "No. It's just that one day, I opened my eyes and suddenly wanted to go out for a walk. That's when I randomly walked here." Seeing Yang Dingtian's words, Jia's beautiful eyes immediately became misty. She said, "Mister, I've never seen your words before. You are indeed the wise man of the world. Can I keep such a treasure of calligraphy?" "Huh. This is a treasure of calligraphy? I'm using Zhao Ji's thin gold body to write the words of the Little Western Paradise." Yang Dingtian had practiced calligraphy for a long time in high school and university. He was also a little vain. What he learned was the thin gold body of Emperor Huizong of the Song dynasty. This was because this handwriting looked very awesome. In the chaotic world, no one had ever praised Yang Dingtian's handwriting. This was because there was no such thing as calligraphy and painting in the chaotic world. The Seven Refined Lane was already the pinnacle of art. Even Yun Zhenu had never thought that Yang Dingtian's handwriting was good. Now that he had arrived at the Little Western Paradise, this place had a dense artistic aura. It allowed Yang Dingtian's thin gold body, which he had been practicing for several years, to shine brightly. "I'm just writing casually." Yang Dingtian still spoke in the language of the Little Western Paradise, which was not very fluent. Suddenly, Jia felt that this Silent One in front of her was really high and mighty. Then she turned to Yang Dingtian and bowed. "Sir, is there anything important that you need this time?" Yang Dingtian said, "Nothing. I'm just taking a walk." Jia immediately said happily, "Then can you stay for a few days, so that I can serve you as a disciple?" Seeing that Yang Dingtian was frowning and could not understand, Jia quickly wrote on a piece of paper. This Silent One in front of her, who could not hear her, was really too mysterious and too charming. Yang Dingtian truly didn't expect that his appearance would actually be so revered. Then, could he easily go to Yao Qi's side? Could he easily meet Yao Rao? Or even let Yao Qi put on a show of 3 visits to the thatched cottage? Suddenly, a plan was formed in Yang Dingtian's mind. Then he said, "I don't like to be restrained." Jia hurriedly bowed and said, "I dare not restrain you, sir. It's my honor to serve you." Wow, she's going with the flow. She's calling herself a disciple now. At this moment, hurried footsteps came from outside, and then the gorgeous door opened. A middle-aged man in a gorgeous royal robe quickly walked in. He first looked at Yang Dingtian with great surprise, then bowed deeply and said, "The king of the Shadow Spear clan, Monster's Wrath II, greets you, sir." This frighteningly handsome middle-aged man in front of him, who even had a meticulously groomed beard and exuded an indescribably noble aura, was his father-in-law, the master of the Shadow Spear clan. However, he was actually called Monster's Wrath II. Before coming to Little Western Paradise, Yang Dingtian had always thought that this place was a tribal era that was more backward than the human countries. As it turned out, this person exuded the aura of a so-called civilized aristocrat from head to toe. He wished that every brick and every tile revealed thousands of years of civilization. Moreover, this world also had a brilliant artistic civilization. Even the highest leader of the entire world was elected. Yang Dingtian really did not expect this. However, when he thought of the tribes outside Shadow Spear City, which were still so dilapidated and primitive, and even the periphery of Shadow Spear City was densely packed with slums, Yang Dingtian clearly knew that this was not a truly outstanding civilization. This world placed too much emphasis on bloodlines. Most of the people with low-level bloodlines had almost no place to rise above others. In this Little Western Paradise, classes were even more distinct and unfair than the human countries. Now, Yang Dingtian finally understood why Yao Li looked down on humans so much and felt that humans were extremely vulgar. He had always thought that it was because of martial arts cultivation, but now it seemed that was not the case. Although the Fox clan of Little Western Paradise was slightly stronger than humans in terms of cultivation, perhaps it was only by a little. What made them look down on humans was their self-righteous civilization. They felt that they were thousands of years more civilized than humans, and that they were thousands of years more advanced. Therefore, Yao Li kept referring to humans as monkeys. The Shadow Spear King in front of him, who was also Yang Dingtian's father-in-law, was completely like a crazy fan. He bowed for a long time before straightening his back and facing Yang Dingtian. "May I ask, what is your name, sir?" Yang Dingtian was barely able to understand his words and asked, "My name?" "Yes, please tell me your name, sir," Yao Nu the second said. Yang Dingtian thought for a moment and said word by word, "Jiang Shang." He originally wanted to call him Kong Ming, but he felt that this name was not awesome enough, so he changed it to Jiang Shang. Yao Nu the second and Jia seemed to have heard some kind of heavenly voice as they slowly repeated this name. Suddenly, they felt that this name was really beautiful and profound to the extreme. Then he bowed deeply and said, "May I ask, Mr. Jiang Shang, may I have the honor of listening to your teachings for a few days?" Yang Dingtian frowned slightly, as if he was a little resistant. Yao Nu the second bowed completely, directly at a 90-degree angle with his legs, and then did not get up. "Then, okay." Yang Dingtian's voice sounded a little awkward. Jia was completely mesmerized by his troubled expression. Oh my God! This was indeed the world's most gorgeous, most elegant, most intelligent, and highest bloodline silent clan. Every move was full of artistic and philosophical aura. It was really going to fascinate people to death. Just like this, Yang Dingtian inexplicably turned into Jiang Shang of the Silent Clan and stayed in the Shadow Spear Clan's palace. He actually wanted to pay a visit to his father-in-law and conveniently ask his father-in-law to help him save Yao Rao. In the end, his father-in-law's family was very happy to see Yao Rao marry Yao Qi, and they valued this son-in-law very, very much, who asked Yao Qi to be the most outstanding leader in thousands of years. At only 1,300 years old, he successfully became the chairman of the Western Heavens Tribal Council. Yang Dingtian now knew how long a term was. A full 100 years. For humans, this was a fucking lifelong system. So his father-in-law did not succeed, but instead became the noblest guest in the Shadow Spear Clan's palace. Not only the palace, his arrival had already caused a stir in the entire Shadow Spear city. He now also understood why when he first entered the city, those people kept a respectful distance from him. But their attitude was very respectful, because those people felt that his bloodline was too low, that he was only a low-level noble, and was not qualified to communicate with the high-class Silent Clan. In just a few days, Yang Dingtian had caused a stir in the entire Shadow Spear city. There was an endless stream of people who came to visit him. Their attitude was more reserved than the other, more fanatical than the other. And Yao Rao's younger sister, his sister-in-law Jia, really thought of herself as the disciple of Jiang Shang of the Silent Clan. Faintly, she served Yang Dingtian more than she served her own father. She personally dressed Yang Dingtian, personally danced for Yang Dingtian, personally massaged his neck for Yang Dingtian, personally cooked for Yang Dingtian, and even wanted to personally feed him. In short, all that was left was to serve him in bed at night. After a few days of contact, she became even more madly infatuated with everything about the Silent Clan. So much so that Yang Dingtian did not dare to look into her eyes, because her original reserve had completely left her. Facing a sister-in-law who wanted to recommend herself to sleep with him at any time, Yang Dingtian did feel that it was a bit difficult to interact with her. Now he finally knew the difference between Jia and Yao Rao. Jia was not very interested in martial arts, so she did not let her surname be Yao, but Ji. She was much more interested in art, civilization, theory, philosophy, and so on. Yao Rao, on the other hand, was completely infatuated with martial arts, and was obsessed with making the Fox clan the supreme ruler of the universe. But young Dingtian found that the Fox clan, who had such thoughts like Jia, was no longer mainstream. Now even martial arts could not be considered the mainstream of the Little Western Paradise. Art and civilization were completely on par with martial arts. As for Yang Dingtian, he finally understood why he was so popular. Why the Silent Clan was so fanatically worshipped by the Fox clan. It turned out that a long time ago, the fallen silver dragon did not seduce the Fox clan, but a cave dweller. This cave dweller was actually closer to humans, but they had not been out of the sea for long, so they still had webbed feet. The reason why the fallen silver dragon chose this cave dweller was that they, like the Naga, were from the sea. Moreover, they had higher intelligence, and even used primitive words and tools. So, the fallen silver dragon first seduced the cave dweller. But later, it found that the cave dweller had a fatal flaw, and that was that they had no ambition, were reclusive, and somewhat had no desires. Moreover, although they had dealings with each other, they did not communicate much. Although this clan had extraordinary intelligence, if they did not have any ambition, it would be impossible for them to dominate this world. So the fallen silver dragon began to seduce the Silver Fox clan, which seemed to be smarter and greedier at that time. Sure enough, the fallen silver dragon was right. After this female cave dweller was seduced by it, a new clan was born. Although their talent and intelligence were unparalleled, and even more outstanding than the beginner Naga, they did not have any ambition. They did not like to practice martial arts, and were more willing to spend most of their time meditating and thinking. In fact, they were almost unwilling to even speak, so they were called the Speechless Clan. This was not the most fatal thing. The most fatal thing was that they were unwilling to mate with a male and female, and were unwilling to reproduce. So, this silent clan became fewer and fewer, and it was said that they had gone extinct a few hundred years ago. However, this did not stop the Fox clan from worshipping this cave dweller. This was because the cave dweller's talent and intelligence were far superior to the Fox clan. The key was that the Silent Clan's silver dragon bloodline was very rich, and because they had very few descendants, their bloodline was very pure. The Fox clan's worship of the silver dragon bloodline was almost to the extreme, and no Fox clan's silver dragon bloodline could be compared to the Silent Clan's. Moreover, the Silent Clan's extraordinary mentality, their intelligence, and their attitude all became the reason for the Fox clan's fanatical worship. Therefore, it was no wonder that when Jia discovered Yang Dingtian, the Silent Clan, she immediately asked the Butt Cavalry to bring him over, afraid that others would snatch him away. As for the Shadow Spear King, Demon Rage II, he was already so old, but his fanaticism was no less than his daughter's. Previously, Yang Dingtian was still worried that his fake speechless race would be exposed. After all, he didn't have their intelligence. In the end, he found that these worries were completely unnecessary. That was because all of the high-level foxes worshipped him in a sick and irrational manner. They were all die-hard fans. Not to mention exposing himself. Even if he urinated on the street, he would be worshipped and respected by countless demon fox nobles. They would feel that this was the true freedom, and they would guarantee that there would be 10,000 demon fox nobles learning to urinate on the street the next day. In fact, this kind of limelight had already started. Yang Dingtian's stuttering in the demon fox language had already become popular in the entire Shadow Spear city. There were already countless demon fox nobles imitating him, and even his every move had become the object of imitation by the young nobles. This was not the craziest thing. The craziest thing was that the news of the silent Jiangshang had finally spread to the Silver Dragon Sky City thousands of miles away. Then, the newly elected leader of the Western world, Yao Qi, prepared to personally come to Shadow Spear City to visit Yang Dingtian. Chapter 742. 2 days later, Yang Dingtian finally met the youngest chairman of the Fox Demon Clan. Of course, he was also his biggest enemy in Little Western Paradise. Without a doubt, he was not very pretty in the Fox Demon Clan. He was almost 1.9 meters tall, which made him look too tall and skinny. Especially his eyes, they were deep and narrow. It made him look very difficult to get along with. Yang Dingtian had a few misconceptions about Yao Qi. The first misconception was that he was elected chairman not because of his high cultivation. That was right. His cultivation was much higher than Yao Li's, but in Little Western Paradise, he was definitely not number one. He was not even in the top few. The reason why he was elected chairman was because of his political charisma and his charisma as a leader. The second misconception was that he was not elected chairman because of his high status. In fact, his status was even lower than Yao Li's. Yao Li was the young master of a clan. Yao Qi was an orphan, but later became the adopted son of the Jaina tribe's leader. When he was very young, Yao Qi showed great talent. In just a few hundred years, he made the Jaina tribe rise from a third-tier clan to one of the 9 great tribes. The leader of the Jaina tribe had once wanted to tie the knot between the two of them and marry into the Jaina tribe, so that he could inherit the position of the tribe leader. However, Yao Qi gave up on the glory and wealth that was within his reach. He turned to the great sage Yongxi and became his disciple. He cultivated martial arts, philosophy, and politics. 300 years ago, the great sage Yongxi was elected chairman of the Western Paradise World's Tribal Council, and Yao Qi became his assistant. After that, Yongxi was elected chairman for 1 term, and then he retired completely. In the past 100 years, Yao Qi became the great arbitrator of the Tribal Council, in charge of the disputes between the 9 great tribes. Then in this election, he probably received the full support of his teacher, as well as the support of the Shadow Spear tribe and the Jaina tribe. At the age of 1300, he was successfully elected as the chairman, becoming the youngest chairman in the history of the country. Of course, he did not have a good life. This was because the number of votes he received this time was the lowest in all the elections. It was a narrow victory. In the world of Little Western Paradise, he also had many opponents. Especially when he was the great arbiter, he had offended many people. Therefore, not only was he the youngest speaker, but he was also the most controversial speaker. The appearance of Jiang Shang from the Speechless clan was a great opportunity for Yao Qi. Of course, it was also a great risk. This was because the demon fox aristocrats' worship of the Silent Ones was fanatical. Therefore, as long as he could get Jiang Shang to stay by his side, it would be beneficial for him to stabilize his position as the chairman, and even his future in power. However, if this silent speaker became disgusted with him, or even said something unfavorable about him, then his situation would become even worse. Therefore, after discovering that Yang Dingtian was a fake Speechless, the Shadow Spear tribe, who was Yao Qi's absolute ally, immediately brought him to the palace and treated him with the utmost respect. After learning about this, Yang Dingtian could not help but mock them in his heart. There were no fools in this world. It turned out that most of the respect that his father-in-law had shown him was fake. It was all for the sake of his son-in-law, Yao Qi, to fight for political resources. Instantly, Yang Dingtian felt that the smile on his father-in-law's face was filled with the hypocrisy of a modern Earth politician. For the first time, Yang Dingtian also felt that the political standards of the human countries in the chaotic world were quite low. On the other hand, the political standards of Little Western Paradise were similar to those of modern Earth countries. In fact, they were even better. As for him, the fake silent speaker, he had become a tool when he first appeared. However, there was one thing that he did not have to worry about. That was his impersonation of the Speechless clan would never be exposed. Even if he was fake, Yao Qi would try her best to make it look real. Therefore, Yang Dingtian now had a question. Was his sister-in-law Jia's fanaticism for him real or fake? 300 years ago, my teacher was fortunate enough to meet a sage from the Silent Clan. The two of them only talked for a day and night, but my teacher benefited from it for the rest of his life. He only understood less than half of the sage's wisdom after a few hundred years. Yao Qi also sat in front of Yang Dingtian very respectfully and said, "Today, Yao Qi is fortunate enough to be taught by you. I will definitely benefit from it for the rest of my life." His sister-in-law Jia walked beside Yang Dingtian and served him tea respectfully. Yang Dingtian only smiled slightly and did not answer. As a Silent Clan member, he did not need to answer. He could see through Yao Qi's intention at a glance. He did not really want to ask him any questions. This Yao Qi in front of him was, without a doubt, the extremely conceited type. What he wanted was merely a political talent. Just like his teacher, who had talked for a day and a night with the previous Silent Clan member, and was influenced by the Silent Clan's wisdom. However, who knew what the actual situation was? It would not be strange if the two of them talked about how to fuck women. As long as everyone knew that they had talked for a day and a night, that would be enough. It was a political resource. He made use of the Fox clan's worship of the Silent Clan to create a political resource. Hence, no matter what Yao Qi said, Yang Dingtian only smiled and did not speak. He was even scared out of his wits. Suddenly, Yao Qi's face turned ugly. That was because he despised the Silent Clan. He felt that the Silent Clan was antisocial and stupid. If the Fox clan learned from them, the Fox clan would have gone extinct a long time ago. If the Silent Clan was really so intelligent, they would not have gone extinct. His teacher Yongxi had indeed talked to a Silent Clan member for a day and a night. However, after the conversation, he had respectfully sent the Silent Clan member away. He had immediately gone to the lavatory in golden resplendence and pooped for a whole hour. Yao Qi asked why. His teacher said that if a perverted man talked to an abstinent person, what would the consequences be? Yao Qi shook his head. Of course he knew. He asked his teacher to tell him. Yongxi said, the result is that the perverted man might become impotent. Yao Qi asked curiously, why is that? Yongxi said, because the abstinent person kept brainwashing you. He said that beautiful women are no different from feces. After saying this for 10,000 times, you would be poisoned. When you see a beautiful woman, you would think of feces. Wouldn't that make you impotent? Yao Qi said, teacher, that's weird. Why would a beautiful woman be associated with feces? It makes sense that a beautiful woman would turn into a skeleton after death. Yongxi said, because bones are not as disgusting as feces. That abstinent person would peel off the beautiful woman's skin and tell you that under the skin is disgusting fat and bloody flesh. It is no different from pork. Then, he would open the stomach and point at the green intestines. He would say that the intestines are feces. Hence, a beautiful woman is no different from feces. Then, he would tell you that the beautiful woman came from your imagination. After that, the so-called power and achievements were no longer illusory. Tell me, after listening to this for a day and a night, should I go and get rid of it? Yao Qi said, teacher, why do I feel that it makes sense? Yongxi said, of course it makes sense. Let me ask you, who do you think is the stupidest person in the world? Yao Qi said, someone who thinks he is smart? Yongxi said, no, someone who thinks he is smart at least makes himself comfortable. True stupidity is to see through everything. It is to be so smart that you see through everything and lose all your desires. Once you reach that stage, you can just die. Anyway, there is no point in you living, right? Yao Qi nodded. Yongxi continued, hence the biggest stupidity in the world is wisdom. You said that his words make sense. Of course they do. All the truths in the world seem to make sense. But all the truths are stupid. If you don't want to be stupid, it is simple. You can play with the truths and use them to get everything you want. Hence, Yao Qi had always looked down on authority. Moreover, they also kept a respectful distance from the silent ones and avoided the topic like it was a taboo. Hence, from the bottom of his heart, he looked down on Yang Dingtian, the silent ones. However, for the sake of politics, he had to ask for advice with a respectful attitude. But the silent ones in front of him just sat there arrogantly and did not say a word. Yao Qi was a king. Of course, he felt offended. Once someone offended him, not to mention the silent ones, no one could escape the fate of disappearing from the world. Hence, he still had a smile on his face, but his eyes were cold. He said, do you think that I am stupid and unworthy of your advice? Yang Dingtian said, if you are stupid, then there is no smart person in the world. Yao Qi said, then why is Mr. Jiang Shang not saying anything? Yang Dingtian said, you don't like me, and your words against the silent ones are like snakes and scorpions. Why should I say anything? Whatever you want, I will cooperate with you. You and I can do whatever you want for a day and a night. Yang Dingtian's words were very direct. If you want me to put on a show, then I will fulfill your wish. The two of us can just sit there for a day and a night. As for talking through the night, there is no need for that. Yao Qi's face twitched. He felt that his teacher was right. These silent ones were all arrogant and stubborn. They boasted that they saw through everything. It was one thing for him to think about it, but it was another thing for Yang Dingtian to expose him. All of a sudden, he became competitive, and the so-called respect on his face disappeared without a trace. Instead, it was replaced by an extremely conceited arrogance. He said, "Mr. is right. I am very disgusted by the creed of your speechless clan, and even feel that it is completely useless. If we followed your attitude of having no desires, then not only the little Western paradise, but the entire chaotic world would have been destroyed. Desire is the foundation of all civilizations and races' survival. It is the absolute driving force for all civilizations and races' development. If the silent ones were really the so-called intelligent ones, then why are you almost extinct now?" Yang Dingtian smiled and did not refute. Jia, on the other hand, was filled with uneasiness. She could not help but look at Yao Qi with fear. "That's right. Talking to the silent ones for a day and a night will be very beneficial to me. Many fox demons will think that I have gained the recognition and influence of the intelligent ones." Yao Qi said coldly, "However, since you have such an attitude, then I don't want this reputation. Goodbye." Then, Yao Qi stood up and was about to walk out. "When are you going to kill me?" Yang Dingtian suddenly asked. Yao Qi paused and continued to walk out. He did not answer or deny. Yang Dingtian had guessed correctly. Since they parted on bad terms, Yao Qi would definitely kill him, the silent ones. That was because the silent ones had too many admirers. Once they said something that was unfavorable to him, the consequences would be severe. Therefore, the moment Yao Qi walked out, he would definitely not allow him to live in this world. At that time, Yang Dingtian did not stop him at all. He allowed Yao Qi to leave the room. Suddenly, Jia knelt beside him and said, "Why did you do that? You will lose your life if you do that. Although you are admired by tens of thousands of people, if Yao Qi wants to kill you, it will be a piece of cake." Yang Dingtian only shook his head and did not say anything. After interacting with Yao Qi for a short 15 minutes, Yang Dingtian could clearly feel that this might be the first true monarch that he had met. Furthermore, it was a monstrously ambitious monarch that was decisive in killing. He was very similar to those outstanding places in China's history. Even Queen Seaheart couldn't be considered a true ruler, because she was too soft and vicious, and her vision was too narrow. Next, Yang Dingtian would have to judge whether he was a truly outstanding and powerful king. Because for a king, intelligence was not the most important thing. The most important thing was character and breadth of mind. Such breadth of mind would basically lead to self-criticism, self-denial and self-doubt. In the end, it would turn into correct thinking. This Yao Qi's prejudice and contempt for the silent ones were deeply rooted. If he thought of a way to kill Yang Dingtian, then he would only be a king. However, if he did not kill Yang Dingtian, but forced himself to understand the silent ones that he disliked and confirm whether his judgment was correct before deciding whether to kill Yang Dingtian, then he would be an outstanding king. Therefore, if he did not kill Yang Dingtian, then he would be an even more dangerous enemy to the human countries. Yang Dingtian's premonition was right. This Yao Qi in front of him was indeed an outstanding king. A few hours later, he came in front of Yang Dingtian again and said, "My judgment of the speechless race all originated from my teacher. Therefore I am biased. This is a very dangerous action that will lead me in the wrong direction. Therefore, I really want to understand whether the silent ones are really intelligent, and whether they are really harmful to this world." Yang Dingtian nodded at him. Yao Qi said, "I will only ask you one question. If you answer correctly, you will live. If you answer incorrectly, you will die. You know that it will be easy for me to kill you, and there won't be any serious consequences." Yang Dingtian nodded again. Yao Qi said, "My question is, what do you think is the thing that I am most worried about now? In other words, What is the problem that I want to solve the most after becoming the speaker? Yang Dingtian's eyes narrowed. If he answered correctly, he would live. If he answered incorrectly, he would die. Chapter 743. What was Yao Qi most worried about? What problem did he want to solve the most? If Yang Dingtian did not come from modern Earth, he would have answered wrongly. From anyone's point of view, Yao Qi's biggest problem was his controversial nature. There were many forces that did not approve of him. Of course, all of this boiled down to one thing: how to secure his position as the chairman. If it was anyone else, they would have given the same answer. However, Yang Dingtian knew very well that Yao Qi did not care about that. Instead, he cared about the future of Little Western Paradise. That's right, the future of Little Western Paradise. In the few days that Yang Dingtian stayed, he clearly felt that the upper world of Little Western Paradise was much happier than the human countries. They were not in any danger, unlike the human countries that had to face the threat of a world-ending war. It seemed like there was nothing in the world that could threaten Little Western Paradise. That was indeed the case. Regardless of whether it was the Snakeman Empire or the Evil Tao, they would not be able to threaten the Little Western Paradise for a very, very long time. In that case, this was the biggest problem. They were born in hardship and died in peace. Little Western Paradise was not in any danger and had a lifespan of thousands of years. Therefore, they had no intention of improving themselves and had lost their future goals. Perhaps they had once wanted to dominate all the dimensions in the chaotic world. They wanted to restore the glory of the Naga Empire, and even go further. They wanted to become a true race of gods, the pinnacle of the universe. However, batch after batch of female foxes went to the human countries. Without exception, they all failed. The long years had erased most of their fighting spirit and dreams. Everyone was content with their current situation, and only wanted to enjoy life. Look at the nobles in Shadowspear City. How exquisite their food was, and how extravagant their clothes were. How extravagant their lives were. They even wanted a statue by the roadside to be extravagant. Moreover, there were already many people with high bloodlines who did not practice martial arts. Why did they not practice martial arts? That was because ever since the Tribal Alliance Parliament was established in Little Western Paradise, they rarely used force to solve disputes. It had been a long time since there was a war. Most of the time, political means were used to solve problems. Since there was no war, there was no room for military force to be used. A person with a high cultivation base might not necessarily be respected and loved. Therefore, more and more people pursued art and philosophy. This was actually a good thing. But Little Western Paradise was a little too morbid. For example, Yang Dingtian, a fake member of the Silent Tribe, did not display any outstanding talent at all. He did not write any immortal articles, nor did he publish any astonishing theories, nor did he have any works of art. However, almost the entire Shadowspear City was crazily chasing after him. And the reason was simply because he was from the Silent Clan. He possessed the highest Silver Dragon bloodline. Therefore, no matter what he did, he could be at the forefront of fashion. Even his stuttering speech could become a popular trend, and countless people imitated him. This was already sick. At this moment, the Little Western Paradise was like adding oil to a fire. The Demon Fox aristocrats who had lost their goal would eventually walk towards their own demise. Answer. If your answer is correct, it means that you are indeed a wise person. If your answer is wrong, it means that you are just a pretentious person. I cannot let you live, Yao Qi said. The Little Western Paradise now can no longer tolerate a pretentious idol. Yang Dingtian looked at Yao Qi and wrote word by word. The biggest problem you are facing, oh no, the biggest problem the entire Little Western Paradise is facing, is that most people have lost their direction. It is as if they have entered an eternal drunken stupor. The few who are sober are unable to lead them to change. If this continues, in less than 300 or 500 years, Little Western Paradise will self-destruct. Yao Qi was instantly shocked. Yang Dingtian ignored his words and continued writing. Actually, there is a more realistic problem. I have rarely seen the children of the high nobles, as they have an almost infinite lifespan. The demon fox aristocrats no longer wish to have children. This is because it will affect their bloodline. Moreover, I have seen many aristocrat couples who are like passers-by. They have countless lovers. The private life in Shadowspear City has become extremely messy. In the end, Yang Dingtian used simple words to write. The Little Western Paradise now is at its brightest, but it is also at its most decadent. Therefore, in the next few hundred or thousand years, it will face the end of the world. Yao Qi looked at the words, and looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. His entire face and eyes were trembling. This was the first time someone had spoken to the deepest part of his soul. It was even clearer and clearer than what he was worried about. Many people thought that he would be very proud after becoming the chairman. However, they did not know that he could not sleep at night. He was extremely anxious when he saw the upper echelons of Little Western Paradise living in such a drunken stupor. After a long while, he bowed for the first time and said, "Mr. Jiang Shang, please forgive me for my ignorance and disrespect. Please forgive me for doubting your wisdom and blaspheming you." Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "Since you are so polite, I will say a few more words." Yao Qi bowed again and said, "Please enlighten me." Yang Dingtian continued writing. Previously, you were extremely disdainful of the speechless race. Obviously, you were influenced by your teacher. Your teacher thinks that desire is the root of the advancement of society. However, the speechless race thinks that all desires and pursuits are illusory. I advise your teacher to give up everything and pursue all eternity. Yao Qi said respectfully, "That's right. Although you have not heard of it, it is as if you have seen it with your own eyes." Yang Dingtian wrote, "Actually, both of them are right, but they are also wrong. Your teacher is wrong because he is too fearless. The speechless race senior is wrong because he is too pessimistic. However, your teacher is wrong more. Think about it carefully. How much of the Little Western Paradise's current situation is because of your teacher?" Yao Qi was shocked when he heard this. Yang Dingtian wrote, "When your teacher was elected as the speaker, Little Western Paradise was at its most chaotic. There were endless conflicts. Hence, your master spent 100 years to guide the mainstream of the Western Paradise from the martial path to the arts, using this to eliminate the conflict. This kind of guidance could not be said to be wrong. However, he should not have led it to the superficial. This thing is too illusory. Moreover, there is no clear future." Yang Dingtian continued writing. Of course, he became the greatest speaker in history. However, he had already planted the seeds of disaster for Little Western Paradise. His actions were like he did not want a group of beasts to fight each other. In the end, he treated them like pigs. In the end, he really did raise a group of pigs. Just like what he said, if you don't want to be stupid, you have to play with the truth. He was too utilitarian, too smart, and too mean. Yang Dingtian's words were enlightening in Yao Qi's ears. Actually, he felt that way too. However, that was his teacher, his biggest political backer. Therefore, he could not think too deeply about it. Now that Yang Dingtian had exposed him, he broke out in cold sweat. That was right. Little Western Paradise was full of conflicts before, but it did not lack vitality. Now Little Western Paradise was peaceful, but it was dead. How do I get out of this rotten situation? Sir, please teach me. Yao Qi said as he bowed. Yang Dingtian sighed and said, "Old habits are hard to change. Either you start all over again, or there is a huge external force. Otherwise, with your own strength, there is no way to save it." "Why is there no way to save it?" "Sir, please do not underestimate my determination. Even if I have to pay a huge price, I will save this situation." Yao Qi said. Yang Dingtian wrote on the paper, "Because the fox demon race in Little Western Paradise is not a race given by the heavens. It is also not a race that was born naturally. It is a race that was forcefully created by a powerful species. From the moment it was born, it was the moment it was destroyed." The Naga race is the most extreme example. Yao Qi clenched his teeth and said, "Sir, do you think that there is an intelligent species in this world that will live forever?" "Humans," Yang Dingtian said. "At least in the foreseeable future, they will continue to live. Yao Qi said, "Why humans?" Yang Dingtian said, "Because they are too ordinary." Yao Qi was stunned. Then he fell silent. Others might not understand Yang Dingtian's words, but he was smart enough to understand. Yang Dingtian was speaking the truth. However, he was also hiding something. There was only one meaning in his words, and that was to let the demon foxes of the Little Western Paradise completely integrate into the human nations of the primal chaos realm, and let them also become popular. To put it more bluntly, he wanted to destroy all the powerful and rotten high-ranking fox demon race. He wanted the astronomical number of ordinary fox demon race to become the mainstream of Little Western Paradise. Yang Dingtian's secret was, of course, a poison that would destroy Little Western Paradise's martial arts. However, it was also the truth. It was also the truth that would allow Little Western Paradise to live forever. Sometimes poison could save people. But of course, Yang Dingtian wouldn't say it so clearly. However, Yao Qi said it very clearly. He said directly, "Sir, you want me to destroy all the high-ranking fox demon race, and let the ordinary fox demon race become the rulers of Little Western Paradise. Then, they will completely integrate into the human kingdom. Is that what you mean?" When he said that, his eyes were already cold and filled with murderous intent. He was indeed a king. He had just bowed down and kowtowed. Now he was filled with murderous intent. Yang Dingtian knew that he needed a perfect explanation. Otherwise, his life would be in danger. "That's what I mean, but that's also not what I mean," Yang Dingtian said. "Oh," Yao Qi said, "please enlighten me." Yang Dingtian wrote, "From a long-term perspective, that's what I mean. I want the high-ranking fox demon race to destroy themselves after completing their mission. I want the low-ranking fox demon race to become the mainstream of Little Western Paradise. However, this long-term plan will take at least hundreds or thousands of years. If I do it in the short term, it's no different from destroying my martial arts and committing suicide by taking poison." Yao Qi did not deny it. He said, "Is there no other way?" Yang Dingtian said, "If you only want a few thousand years of glory, of course there is a way. It's to walk the path of the Naga race, borrow from the humans, and give birth to a demigod race. Then, they will completely rule over all the dimensions in the chaotic world. Then, your fox demon race's power will exceed the limits of the chaotic world. Then there will be another great nirvana, which will lead to the complete destruction of the chaotic world." Yao Qi's eyes brightened. He said, "If that's the case, we will still have glory, right?" Yang Dingtian's eyes narrowed. That's right. The ambitious person in front of him had the mentality of a typical king, not an idealist. The instant glory of ruling over the world was what fascinated them the most. However, the longevity of civilization might not be what they really wanted. Yang Dingtian was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Yes. However, it's a pity that the Naga race has already done this. No matter what, repeating the path of others is not an absolute glory." Suddenly, the light in Yao Qi's eyes dimmed. Then he laughed and said, "All right, talking to you is indeed better than studying for 10 years. I've learned a lot. Please rest, sir. I'll come again." Then he bade farewell and left. Yang Dingtian could not help but sigh. Because of the judgment of the people of Earth, he was recognized by Yao Qi's talent. However, he did not say anything about Yao Qi. Moreover, their ambitions and views were completely different. As the saying goes, those who walk different paths cannot work together. Yao Qi still wanted to follow the path of the Naga race. She wanted to give birth to the demigod race and rule over the universe. Even if she wanted to be completely destroyed like the Naga race, she would not hesitate. Just like the saying, even if it was a shooting star that passed by in a flash, at least it had once burned and shone brightly. If this happened to a person, it was not bad. However, if it happened to a race, it would undoubtedly be an extremely terrifying thing. In the history of Earth, there were too many races that had risen brilliantly. They had almost conquered the entire world, or more than half of the world. However, their rise was quick, and their fall was sudden. The Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan's lead had almost conquered half of the world in a short period of time. However, The entire empire had been destroyed in less than 100 years. Germany had almost fought against more than half of the world with its own power. Although it had lost in terms of strategy, it was extremely brilliant in terms of tactics. The burning thoughts of these races had not only destroyed themselves, but they had also created a huge disaster for the entire world. Once Yao Qi succeeded, the human countries would face an even more terrifying ending. It would be even more terrifying than the Great War of Extinction. Once the high-level fox race successfully gave birth to the demigod race, in addition to their almost endless lifespan, humans would not be their match. They would only face enslavement or destruction. Of course, they would also be destroyed. However, they would first destroy the entire world's civilization before destroying themselves. For example, after the Naga race had dominated the underwater world, they had almost destroyed all the underwater civilizations. They were the only one left. That was because they wanted to monopolize all the energy in the sea to make themselves stronger. That would lead to the Great Nirvana. In the pavilion at the highest point of the palace, Yao Nu II and Yao Qi were having a secret conversation. What about Jiang Shang? Yao Nu asked. Yao Qi said, different ideals, different paths. Yao Nu II said, then get rid of him. I'll do it. I guarantee that it won't affect you at all. You can just blame it on the Silver Moon race. After all, Yao Li has already died in your hands. You can use Jiang Shang's death to get rid of the dissidents. Yao Qi said, but this person is also my confidant. I haven't had such a good conversation with someone in a very long time. When he says something, I can understand the meaning behind it. When I say something, he can also understand what I mean. He's such a confidant and a great talent. It's a pity to kill him. Then, Yao Qi said, if he can be used by me, that would be great. Yao Nu II said, that's what I thought back then. That's why I kept him. He's from the speechless race. He'll bring you great political prestige. Yao Qi was a little disappointed with his father-in-law's vision. He shook his head and said, I don't care if he's from the speechless race. Try to get him. Either he'll be used by me or I'll kill him. How? Yao Nu II asked. Be my brother-in-law and betroth Jia to him, Yao Qi said. Yao Nu II said, how can that be? Jia is going to marry you together with Yao Rao. She'll be your future imperial concubine. No, although Jia is beautiful, if she can be exchanged for Jiang Shang, that's what I want. Yao Qi said, think of a way immediately. Even if you want Jia to climb into his bed now, it'll be worth it. Chapter 744. Jia was stunned when she heard her father's request. She was speechless. All the admiration she had for young Ding Tian was fake. She was looking forward to marrying someone like Yao Qi. She was looking forward to marrying Yao Qi with her sister. She served Jiang Shang, the silent one, because of Yao Qi. Her sister, Yao Rao, gave her too much pressure. As the only female fox demon who had successfully borrowed a human seed and gave birth to a demigod's descendant, Jia felt that she had no chance of winning against her sister. In fact, Jia was the first one to get married to Yao Qi. Back then, Yao Qi tried to rope in the Shadow Spear clan to become the chairman. The marriage was decided by the greatest chairman in Little Western Paradise's history. He was also Yao Qi's teacher, the Eternal Pavilion. He came to Shadow Spear City to ask for Yao's Wrath II's hand. After that, the Shadow Spear clan supported Yao Qi to become the chairman. Not only that, but the Shadow Spear clan also roped in many close allies to support Yao Qi's election. If it were not for the Shadow Spear clan, Yao Qi would not have been elected. Jia was originally Yao Qi's only wife. However, there was a huge change. Some humans secretly reported to Yao Qi that Yao Rao had successfully borrowed a human seed and gave birth to a demigod's descendant. Not only that, but Yao Li had also received the news and went to the human kingdom to take Yao Rao back. Suddenly, Yao Qi felt that this was a huge opportunity. The opportunity to change the Western Paradise was right in front of her. Therefore, he left Little Western Paradise immediately and went to the human kingdom to take Yao Rao and the child away. Because of this, he did not hesitate to kill Yao Li, turning the Silver Moon clan, who had always been against him, into his mortal enemy. After that, Yara also became the second wife that he was about to marry. No, Yao Rao was the first and Jia was the second. Yao's Wrath II was very happy. He did not expect his daughter, Yao Rao, to successfully borrow a human seed. A few hundred years ago, thousands of the most outstanding female fox demon nobles went to borrow a human seed. However, none of them succeeded. All of them failed. Therefore, the entire fox demon clan gave up hope. They felt that it was impossible. Having lost their target, the fox demon clan became even more befuddled. But he had never thought that Yao Rao would actually succeed. What did this mean? Demon's Wrath II was very clear that this meant that his grandson was very likely to become the first emperor of Little Western Paradise, a true emperor. Hence, he had not invested much in supporting Yao Qi before. Now he was supporting Yao Qi with everything he had, because supporting Yao Qi was equivalent to supporting his grandson. Jia, on the other hand, was the one who suffered the most damage. Originally, she was Chairman Yao Qi's only wife, but later on, she had to be ranked after her sister. If that was the case, she would have accepted it. Now, she was actually asked to climb onto the bed of the Silent Clan's Jiangshang. She really could not accept it. On what basis? On what basis? Why am I the one being sacrificed? Jia and Yao Qi could be said to be like-minded. Many of their viewpoints coincided with each other. At the same time, Jia was a noble woman with great ambition. Unlike the other fox nobles, she was not muddle-headed and befuddled. She also clearly saw the terrible situation that the Demon Fox clan was facing. Towards the Speechless clan, she was full of repulsion and even hostility. She felt that the Speechless clan's negative viewpoints would bring great harm to the entire Little Western Paradise. The reason why she served Jiangshang from the Speechless clan like a disciple was all for Yao Qi. She just wanted to build momentum for Yao Qi. Actually, she herself did not despise Jiangshang from the Speechless clan. She could only say that his viewpoints were completely different from hers. Hence, although she called herself a disciple, she did not ask Jiangshang from the Speechless clan any questions. Instead, she had those fox nobles come to worship her every day. And then she showed them her close relationship with Jiangshang. Not only was she building momentum for Yao Qi, but she was also building momentum for herself. Her identity as a disciple of the Speechless clan could bring glory to her identity. As the future wife of the chairman, this identity was also a golden signboard. In today's Little Western Paradise, martial arts could no longer dominate the order. Reputation was more important than martial arts. Hence, no matter which noble, they would do everything they could to increase their reputation. And this Jiangshang from the Speechless clan became the best tool. Hence, she spared no effort to flatter Jiangshang from the Speechless clan. It was all for Yao Qi. Soon Jia forced herself to calm down. She said, "Father, why? Why?" Yao Nu II said, "This Speechless clan is overflowing with talent. Chairman Yao Qi wants to use him for himself." "What talent does the Speechless clan have? They only know how to hide from the world. It's useless for governing the world," Jia said. Yao Nu II said, "Chairman Yao Qi said that Jiangshang and he are close friends. It's just that their viewpoints and paths are different." Jia said, "Then it's also him who told me to climb onto Jiangshang's bed?" "Yes," Yao Nu II said. Jia said, "Then I'll ask him myself." Jia came to Yao Qi's house. For the first time, she lifted her beautiful and elegant face and looked at Yao Qi. "You know that I admire and adore you a lot? That I dislike the Speechless clan?" Yao Qi nodded. Jia said, "I just want to confirm that you really want to marry me to Jiangshang?" Yao Qi nodded. "Yes." "Why?" Jia asked. Yao Qi said, "He sees the danger of Little Western Paradise more clearly than I do. However, he's very biased against the Fox clan. He's even hostile. He wants to destroy the Fox clan." Jia said, "If that's the case, why don't you kill him?" Yao Qi said, "As a king, I can't judge things based on likes and dislikes. If I don't like someone, I'll kill him. If I have a different view, I'll kill him. That's the most useless thing to do. To be able to make your enemy work for you. That's what a king should do." Jia said, "Is he worth it?" Yao Qi said. First, his identity as the speechless clan is worth it, let alone his talent. Jia said. What do you want me to do? Seduce him? No. Yao Qi said. What's done can't be undone. Then propose marriage. Jia's face turned pale. She said with a trembling voice. You can bear to see me like this? I can, Yao Qi said expressionlessly. Jia's face was pale. She clenched her teeth and said, what if even if I do it he still won't cooperate? Then kill him, Yao Qi said. What about me? What about me? Jia's tears fell. Yao Qi said, if you can't marry him then marry me. You don't care. I've been with him before. I'm a pure and flawless virgin, Jia said while holding back her tears. Yao Qi said, I don't care. Your sister Yao Rao gave birth to a human's child. I don't care. I'm even preparing to nurture that child to be my successor. We'll have many children in the future. All of them will assist their elder brother. Jia's tears finally gushed out. Yao Qi's actions were unquestionably shameless and despicable. He was willing to give his woman to someone else for one person. However, he was so magnanimous that no one could refute him. All right. Since you're willing, then I'm willing too. Jia gritted her teeth and walked out. For half a day, Yang Dingtian's room was very quiet. Jia, who had been serving him meticulously as a disciple, had also disappeared. Yang Dingtian knew that Yao Qi had to make a choice again. Kill him, or find a way to tolerate him, and use him in the end. Of course, if Yao Qi wanted to kill him, he wouldn't do it in the Shadow Spear clan's palace. He would kill him somewhere else and blame it on his enemy, such as the Silver Moon clan. It was funny. If Yang Dingtian wanted to find an ally against Yao Qi, he shouldn't have come to the Shadow Spear clan first. He should have gone to the Silver Moon clan. However, he instinctively thought that the Shadow Spear clan was Yao Rao's family and his father-in-law. They should have been a natural ally. Who would have thought that the Shadow Spear clan would be Yao Qi's most loyal supporter? Yao Li's Silver Moon clan was Yao Qi's most loyal enemy. Of course, Yang Dingtian didn't really want to go to the Silver Moon clan anymore. At least he didn't want to go for now. That was because he wanted to know more about Yao Qi. If he could influence him to change the strategy of the Little Western Paradise and save Yao Rao and her son, that would be the best ending. Of course, the best ending would be for Yao Qi to return Yao Rao and her son to him, and form an alliance with him to fight against the evil ways. However, that ending was too dreamy. He shouldn't have too many fantasies. But at least, Yang Dingtian wanted to try. At least, he had to see Yao Rao and her son with his own eyes before he could do anything else. Now, Yang Dingtian had to continue guessing Yao Qi's intentions. Was he going to kill him or use him? Yang Dingtian felt that Yao Qi was definitely going to use him. Putting aside his talent, just his identity as a member of the speechless race was enough for Yao Qi to use a lot of effort to rope him in and use him. What kind of trick would Yao Qi use to win him over? Yang Dingtian racked his brains, trying to figure out what Yao Qi would do. Just then the door opened. A stunning beauty Jia walked in. She was wearing a flesh-colored silk dress. It was loose but clingy. It accentuated her curvaceous figure, making her look very seductive. Yang Dingtian immediately understood. Yao Qi was going to use her beauty to trap him. He was really willing to go all out. Yang Dingtian knew that Jia was one of Yao Qi's fiancés. The charming sister-in-law Jia came to Yang Dingtian and said, "It's late. Sir, are you still awake?" Yang Dingtian said, "It's late. Why are you here, Miss Jia?" Jia said, "I'm here to serve you." Chapter 745. Not long after Jia left. She didn't say a word from the beginning to the end. Yang Dingtian got up from the ground and tried to pick up his clothes, only to find that they were torn to shreds. About 2 hours later, Jia came in again. She seemed to have taken a bath as her body was filled with the fragrance of flower petals. 2 maids followed behind her, carrying a steaming bathtub. "Jia, help you bathe." Since everything had happened, Yang Dingtian didn't argue anymore. He sat in the bathtub and let Jia help him bathe. He just lay in the hot water and closed his eyes, thinking about the situation in front of him. Even though she was from the speechless tribe, Yao Qi still wanted to rope in Yang Dingtian. Even if it was just a facade, it still had a high political value. Yao Qi's goal was very straightforward. She wanted to marry Jia to Jiang Shang from the speechless tribe and completely use him. Of course, because they had different ideals and paths, she wouldn't take Yang Dingtian's suggestion. For a very long time, she was just a facade that he had kept for himself. Now Yang Dingtian had to face the problem of whether to agree or not. If he agreed, it would go against the personality of the speechless tribe. But if he didn't, Yao Qi would definitely kill him. Most importantly, Yang Dingtian wanted to see Yao Rao and her son. Plus, it might be more convenient to hunt for the void-cracking fire by Yao Qi's side. The speechless tribe's body is really strange, Jia suddenly said. Yang Dingtian looked down. It was indeed strange. First of all, compared to humans, his body seemed to be longer and flatter. Plus, there were natural patterns on his body. Some of the patterns even glowed. They were especially eye-catching in the dim light. Yang Dingtian looked at the patterns carefully and realized that they were mysterious. They were like special runes filled with special magic. The speechless tribe's body also looked like a human, but it seemed to be more seductive. Like the speechless tribe's face, it was between beautiful and seductive. Sir, what do you plan to do next? Jia asked. Yang Dingtian shook his head slightly and said, What do you want to do? Jia said, If you reject Chairman Yao Qi, you will be killed. However, I can still marry Yao Qi. Yang Dingtian, this is what you've been dreaming of, right? Yes, Jia said, but if you could serve Her Excellency Yao Qi, that would be the result I want as well. That is why I'm in a dilemma right now. Yang Dingtian did not answer. Jia asked, Mr. Jiang Shang, will you refuse? Yang Dingtian still did not answer. After the bath, Jia helped Yang Dingtian put on his clothes and said, Please come with me. Her Excellency Yao Qi is waiting for you. Afterward, Jia brought Yang Dingtian to the main hall. It was the main hall where she met Yang Dingtian for the first time. The walls were filled with dozens of portraits. When Yang Dingtian entered, Yao Qi was standing under his portrait. The chairman can only serve one term, or at most two. However, the chief of the 9 tribes can serve for life, and the position is hereditary. Yao Qi suddenly said, That is why many people say that Little Western Paradise is actually the Little Western Paradise of the 9 tribes. The chairman is just a title. It's useless. Yang Dingtian did not answer. Among the 9 tribes, 4 of them are against me. 2 of them see me as their enemy, Yao Qi said. His Excellency Jiang Shang, what do you think I should do? Yang Dingtian remained silent. Sometimes a rebellion is a good thing, right? Yao Qi said. The Little Western Paradise has been peaceful for too long. Martial arts has become the last trend, and the so-called art has become the mainstream. Countless people are trying to please the crowd. Countless people are being pretentious. Then, Yao Qi turned around and said, Mr. Jiang Shang, would you like to return to Silver Dragon Sky City with me? Yang Dingtian nodded and said sure. Jiang Shang was stunned. Suspicion flashed in his eyes. He said, Isn't it too easy for you to agree? I thought you would rather sacrifice your life than submit to force? Some people were just like that. They were naturally suspicious. Yang Dingtian did not answer him. Facing such a person, no answer would be able to dispel his suspicions. Moreover, he would not kill someone just because he was suspicious. Just like that, under the reluctance of countless nobles in Shadow Spear City, Jiang Shang, the wise of the speechless tribe, accepted Yao Qi's invitation to visit Silver Dragon Sky City. Jia went with him as his disciple. On that day, hundreds of thousands of Shadow Spear City's nobles sent him off. After riding on the flying carriage for 3 days and 3 nights, they finally arrived at Silver Dragon Sky City, which was more than 10,000 miles away. This speed was not considered fast. Yang Dingtian realized that Little Western Paradise did not have a strict requirement for speed. Perhaps it was because they had too much time, so they did not feel any urgency about speed. After arriving at Silver Dragon Sky City, Yang Dingtian finally understood what a real city in the sky was. Originally, Shadow Spear City had already given him an incomparably huge impact. However, compared to Silver Dragon Sky City, it paled in comparison. Shadow Spear City was just gorgeous. It was also filled with fantasy colors. However, Silver Dragon Sky City was filled with the colors of science fiction. It was really a city floating in the sky. There were countless huge houses, although they were still filled with an artistic atmosphere. Their height was no less than the skyscrapers on Earth. They were obviously ancient houses made of stone, but they were almost as tall as modern skyscrapers. Rows upon rows of buildings and gorgeous halls merged perfectly, forming the style of Silver Dragon Sky City that was both dreamy and majestic. This city already had the colors of a huge metropolis. As far as the eye could see, it was almost endless. Even Zhongjing was only a fraction of the size of Silver Dragon Sky City. Silver Dragon Sky City was considered the capital of the entire Little Western Paradise. It did not belong to any of the 9 tribes. It was the city that truly belonged to the speaker. Every term of the speaker was officially in charge of this city. That was why he had such great power and could suppress the 9 tribes. However, the speaker was elected. Therefore, every master of Silver Dragon Sky City could only rule for 100 years at most, 200 years at most. In the huge floating square, Yang Dingtian, the silent tribe, received an unprecedented grand welcome. There were hundreds of thousands of Fox tribe nobles who came to the square to welcome them. The Qilin cavalry of the Silver Dragon Guards came out in full force for the first time. They lined up in the square to welcome the arrival of Speaker Yao Qi and Jiang Shang of the silent tribe. The Qilin cavalry only had less than 1,000 people, because the Qilin beast mounts were extremely rare. That's right. It was really a Qilin beast, although it was a little different from the Qilin in the legends on Earth. However, it seemed more majestic than the Qilin depicted on Earth. Every Qilin warrior was a disciple selected from the nobles of the Fox tribe. They had the highest talent, the best looks, and the noblest bloodline. Therefore, the Qilin cavalry should be the most powerful army in Little Western Paradise. However, they never fought. Instead, they existed as a guard of honor. They were seen as the noblest army in Little Western Paradise. When Speaker Yao Qi and Jiang Shang of the silent tribe walked out of the carriage, the entire square was in an uproar. All the nobles of the Fox tribe in Little Western Paradise knew about the existence of the silent tribe. Everyone knew that the silent tribe had the noblest Silver Dragon bloodline. However, almost no one had seen the real silent tribe. Because they were too reclusive. They were like immortals who avoided the world. They never stepped into the secular world. However, the more they were like that, the more the nobles of the Fox tribe worshipped them. Now, it was the first time the nobles of Silver Dragon Sky City had seen the real silent tribe. As expected, they were as noble and elegant as the legends said. They were filled with unparalleled wisdom. Yao Qi and Jiang Shang of the silent tribe walked side by side on the long carpet. Countless nobles cheered along the way. An orchestra with thousands of people played majestic and luxurious music. Speaker Yao Qi accompanied Jiang Shang of the silent tribe to inspect the noblest Qilin cavalry in Little Western Paradise. The entire carpet was almost 1,000 meters long. Because of Jiang Shang from the Speechless clan, the 1,000-meter-long carpet gave Speaker Yao Qi a huge political reputation. Yang Dingtian thought that Yao Qi would give a public speech. Not only her but also him. However, she didn't. After walking down the red carpet, Yao Qi just waved at the countless nobles. Then, the two of them boarded the open golden carriage and went to the heart of Little Western Paradise, the Silver Palace. The Silver Palace. It was the political core of Little Western Paradise. It was where every speaker worked and lived. It was like the White House in America, the Kremlin in Russia, and the Buckingham Palace in England. However, the size of the Silver Palace should be at least 10 times larger than the 3 palaces combined. It was as majestic as a mountain. It was a huge square that stretched as far as the eye could see. Yang Dingtian didn't know how many years it took the Fox tribe to build the Silver Palace. He even felt a sense of absurdity. No matter how tall the Fox tribe was, they couldn't be more than 2 meters tall. However, The main hall of the Silver Palace was dozens of meters tall. Anyone who entered the palace, including the Fox tribe, would feel extremely small. Then young Dingtian understood. These palaces weren't man-made. They were built for the god of Little Western Paradise, the totem of Little Western Paradise, the fallen silver dragon. Because in the entire Silver Palace, whether it was the square or the main hall, the statues of the fallen silver dragon were everywhere. Some were dozens of meters tall, while others were hundreds of meters tall. Perhaps they didn't want the fallen silver dragon to feel cramped. That was why the main hall was so huge and majestic. After entering the Silver Palace, young Dingtian was immediately protected. Or rather, he was put under house arrest. He stayed in one of the palaces by himself. In the 5-story palace, there were over 100 beautiful maids, a few hundred formidable warriors, and a few hundred servants of all kinds. They were all serving young Dingtian alone. For a few hours, young Dingtian stayed in the palace. No one could talk to him or communicate with him. This was because Yao Qi had ordered that anyone who talked to Jiang Shang would be killed. Jiang Shang didn't appear. Jia didn't appear either. Young Dingtian had followed Yao Qi to Silver Dragon Sky City. He wanted to see Yao Rao and her son as soon as possible. However, things weren't that simple. This group of palaces was much bigger than young Dingtian had imagined. It was also much more heavily guarded. Young Dingtian didn't even know if Yao Rao and her son were in the palace. Although he desperately wanted to see Yao Rao and her son, he couldn't act rashly. This place was far more dangerous than he had imagined. But what he didn't expect was that Yao Qi would use every possible method to pull young Dingtian to her side and bring him to Silver Dragon Sky City, even if she had to sacrifice her fiancé. After he succeeded, he put young Dingtian under house arrest in the palace. He didn't ask about young Dingtian at all for a few days. It was as if he had completely forgotten about the silent tribe. He didn't want young Dingtian to be worshipped by all the nobles like Jia. He didn't hold any banquets. Apart from the appearance at the square, he didn't let young Dingtian appear in public again. Mr. President, you've paid such a huge price to get Jiang Shang. Why don't you use him? Jia asked. What do I use him for? Yao Qi used a quill pen to deal with official business quickly. Do I use him to buy people's hearts? Do I use him to build up my political reputation? Isn't that too much of a waste? Then what do you want him to do? Jia asked. Yao Qi said, I invited him to the Silver Palace. He agreed too easily. That's not normal. I want to immerse myself for a while and let some truth surface. Then, I'll think of a way to make him useful again. Jia said. But now, the nobles are very enthusiastic about meeting Mr. Jiang Shang. In the past few days, your support rate has been increasing rapidly. I think it's not a good idea to keep him under house arrest. There's a need to hold a huge banquet for him. Yes, we'll talk about it again. Yao Qi said. Oh right, is your sister still not cooperating? Yes, not cooperating at all. Jia said. She doesn't want to be your wife. Once she shows up, she'll tell the truth that you took her by force. Arrange for her to meet Jiang Shang. Then observe him secretly. Yao Qi said. Are you suspecting something? Jia asked. Nothing. Just observing. Yao Qi said. Go. Yes. Jia said. Then she turned around and left. She went to the palace where young Dingtian was. After Jia left, Yao Qi's confidant came forward and said, Mr. President, will you send an envoy to the Sea of Spirits? The human Dongli came with him. Dongli? Yao Qi said. The Dongli who told us about Yao Rao's secret of giving birth. Yes, that Dongli. The Dongli who wants to cooperate with us. The confidant said. Yao Qi said. Invite them in. Yes. Instantly, Wu Yu's envoy and Dongli from the Sea of Spirits entered the fallen hall of the Silver Palace to meet Yao Qi. At the same time, Jia came to young Dingtian and said, Let's go. I'll bring you to meet someone. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.